that. Yeah. I have a buddy of mine. His kid's a quarterback, and his kid is like pretty good. But it was like a thing where you get in this mode of like he's going to all these kids.
Beautiful trees, fire, gorgeous trees, and tiny little trees spread out all over the place without the same kind of critical mass that could really be called a mighty force. Okay, so that basically brings me to my conclusion of what I wanted to say about American Jewry. I'm sorry that we didn't have it in the series. More opportunity to look at Eastern Europe, Russia, where there's a contact happening as well, but unfortunately the exigencies of time did not cooperate. I would, however, like to reflect briefly on the scope of the 12 lectures that we've offered in this series. We were interrupted right about halfway through by the coronavirus, and we're forced to go online. But I think that in itself is kind of a metaphorical record. The Jewish community has endured incredible challenges, multivalent challenges with very different complexion across time. Multiple exiles, multiple persecution, God forbid. Nevertheless, the Jewish people still manages to continue surviving and even thriving. You know, the oldest continuous civilization on earth, the Jewish people. How is that possible? We have such a tiny people who are able to withstand such phenomenal pressure, and yet at the same time even make massive contributions to the civilizations in which they live. This is one of the conundrums, one of the mysterious aspects of Jewish history. And I have to frankly say, since we're at the very end of the series now, that it is a great reservoir of faith of me personally. As a historian, spending time looking at how easy civilizations are snuffed out by the fortunes of war and economy and the plague, things like that, it amazes me that the Jews managed to hang on. And I'll conclude with a story that was illustrative of the way I approach Jewish history as best I can, as a professional historian, but also as a believer Jew. So this is a story maybe apocryphal, but it's some of the best stories I've heard. Right? And apparently it occurred in the yeshiva where I studied, or Sameach in Jerusalem. Apparently, or Sameach is an institution that tends to attract students who did not grow up with the benefit of a strong Jewish background, and they were interested in it as adults, typically college age. That pretty much defines me. They have advanced studies there, but it's a very serious adult institution, really catering to college age men. So one of the students that was attending class there happened to come from West Point. He was a student of American Air Military Academy, and he ended up in yeshiva, like a lot of people, like I did. And someone asked him, a Shabbos meal or something, so tell us your story. How did you get here? And he said, well, I was studying at West Point. I was planning on a military career. I was very focused on my studies. And once we had a general come to give us a guest lecture, actually a series of lectures, on great battles of history. We looked at the Peloponnesian War. We looked at the Battle of Waterloo. We looked at all of these great battles and wars in history. And the general would analyze why one side won and the other side lost. That military strategy. And we were to learn from the experience of the ancients and medieval and modern battles, how things would go. And it was a great class. But about halfway through the class, I began to wonder, wait a second, why didn't we study any of the Jewish wars? Why didn't we study the great war against the Romans in the first century, or our Kochba revolt? Why we skipped over all that stuff? And, why didn't we look at any of the Israeli battles? Why didn't we understand, see how the Jews survived the War of Independence and the 6-Day War, which is mind-blowing and very important. So I went up to the general after class and said to him, excuse me, sir, I'd like to know why didn't you study any of the battles in Israel? Wasn't there something of great military value in looking at what happened in Israel? And the general responded to me, son, the reason we didn't study any of the Israeli battles is because those victories conform to known standards of military strategy. In other words, those battles, he said, were completely meaningless. It's impossible to understand them. So this made a huge impact on this young man, this student, and he said, well, if that's the case, that this prospective general regards all of the Israeli victories as essentially miraculous, as the hand of God, then, I've got to study what this Jerusalem was all about. And that's how we ended up in Jerusalem, and that's how we ended up in Jerusalem. And I think that story speaks to me very much, because sometimes I'm studying history and I'm saying, gosh, what incredible pressures, what it must have been like to be a Jew at that time. And nevertheless, they survived, and nevertheless, they end up creating this poetry or this science or this music. It's just wonderful. So I think we have to return to this concept I mentioned twice already. Only Mazal Yisrael. There is no predestined for the Jewish people. They are creating their own Jewish people. They have a unique destiny only in the mind of God. That's what we're ultimately searching for. That's ultimately what we're trying to live up to. And with this, I'd like to conclude this series, I Survived Jewish History. Hopefully, we will begin the next series back in our lecture hall, and we will be able to continue it with all of us in good health. And to all of you who are watching this thread, I hope that you all enjoy good health and escape this horrible plague unscathed. Thank you very much for your attention, and look forward to speaking to you in the next series.
You see at night, lights changing. Out my door at 3 o'clock in the morning, I went out, and there's this light. It's like a star. And then I went out the other night, 2 nights ago, and there was 2 of them. One moon and a bright light above that. Oh, yeah. It's amazing. The Emerald Mountain.
Sounds like a hot spot. Yeah, it sounds like a hot spot.
Oh, yeah.
Richard, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. And see if I can work with someone else in before we break at the top.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. My name is Henry Abramson, and welcome to my first live webinar in which I'm going to be trying to use some of this new technology to give a class. We're all in very difficult straits thinking about the implications of this coronavirus situation, and it's stressful on all of us. But, looking back in history, I found so much fascinating material that I just was excited to share it with you, and I'm glad that so many of you have decided to join me for this brief webinar. I'm going to take a very large approach. I'm going to try and survey the entirety of Jewish history in less than 60 minutes. And I have a couple of surprises along the way. I'm going to try out some of these new technological devices. And I'll have some time, hopefully, to deal with some of your questions at the end. But for the time being, let's get straight to the material. And let me share my screen here. Great. So our topic is plague and pandemic in Jewish history. I am not a scientist, I'm a historian, and I've decided to just kind of take a broad look at how Jewish history and plagues and pandemics have intersected over the last 3 millennia. And it seems very clear that plagues and pandemics don't intersect with Jewish history. They are really part and parcel of Jewish history. There's so many parts of Jewish history that are completely dependent on the development of plagues, and at the same time, this is part of human history, part of ecological history, and so on. There's so many fascinating elements. Let's go straight into them. So, first thing I'd like to share with you all is the observation that we have been here before, that the current situation, which is certainly the worst pandemic in the last century since the Spanish flu, longer than that, it's something that just not at all. Our previous generations, even our generation, dealt with Ebola and dealt with SARS and bird flu or avian flu and so on, all these kinds of things, swine flu, H1N1. And so we've had some familiarity with it. There are a few things that are unique to the period that we're living in right now that I think we can meditate upon. Thinking about where we've been before, look at this document just for illustration. This comes from the National Library of Israel. It's a prayer that dates from 1896. for the suppression of the plague. I believe it was yellow fever, I'm not sure exactly, in Bombay. And you can see it's written in English, because of course this is one of the British colonies, and on the right in Hebrew, because it's written for a Jewish audience, and on the left in Marathi, which is just amazing to me that you would have to produce a trilingual document like this. It's a very beautiful prayer, which is intended to meet the spiritual needs, the physical needs, the health needs of the people living in Bombay at the 19th century. So we, the Jewish people, so to speak, have endured plagues before. This is nothing new in the grand sweep of Jewish history. At the same time, we have never been here before. We've never been in this particular moment with so many unusual things happening that really gives us pause for additional reflection.
I woke up at 8 a.m. today. I gotta go to bed. It's been a long day.
What are the two
All right, same deal. One's $500. One is not $500.
The first is the institution of rapid, inexpensive global travel, allowing disease and contagion to spread at a rate and at a scope that has never before been possible in human history. Even the transmission of Spanish flu was delayed by the huge barriers, the high threshold to international travel that meant it was much slower for such a contagion to spread. But today, with relatively inexpensive intercontinental flights, something which happens in Wuhan, China in December suddenly becomes a very serious issue here in New York City in March, April, terrible April of 2020. So that's one major differentiating factor. Another is the existence of the internet, which has suddenly opened up so many possibilities, like this Zoom Seder shown here, which this kind of Seder was celebrated by who knows how many thousands of Jews worldwide, perhaps tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jews. This is a new element in modern history which allows for the connectivity of people even when they are forcibly separated one from another. So those two elements are really at the core of what's different about what we're doing today with this particular pandemic. Now, we're going to go through the history itself, but I want to begin with a little bit of historiographic thought or philosophy of history, if you will. People, come up to me and they say, well, you're a historian, can you tell us what can we learn from history about the situation right now? Like, what are the lessons of history? What does history teach us? And I feel really badly telling them that ultimately history doesn't teach us anything. History is, by definition, something which is in the past and therefore does not exist, right? History doesn't actually have that kind of didactic message to it. We are living in history right now. That does not necessarily mean that we are conscious of what we're trying to say to people generations away from us, let alone eons away from us. What we can say about a history is perhaps something that is often attributed to Mark
and it's like it's all about transferring schools all the time. You just get into that where well, you can be a star quarterback at this other high school, so we got to move. That's crazy to me, but I guess that starts happening, and I go to my kids, I go, hey, start dancing. Be a dancer.
Ironically,
whatever this is terrible. Is this like, just me shot hitting it Taiwan?
It depends how old they are, too. Like, dads do that at 9, it's fucking crazy.
I know you see it, though. You can see it at that little league. They call it little league dad. It's because it happens there. But baseball's different because, you can get baseball's the only thing that's similar to like that European sports where this is all they do. You know what I mean? Like baseball, they got like the minor leagues, and they got all this, you know what I mean? You just play baseball for 20 years.
Did you see Tracy Morgan River?
But I want to watch it. Let me tell you before you go. I get to see Formula One or Jurassic Park, and at times I saw Formula One, and I'm so glad I did. I love Formula One. Smart. That was a great movie. It was a solid movie. I also got its highest grossing movie ever. Isn't that crazy to think?
It's
It's his highest grossing movie ever. Certain choices, man. He never, like, he had an article that they, he was talking about these Marvel movies are ruining young actors. Superhero movies are ruining actors. They were going to make their choice. But this is like, Tom Cruise could have been in this movie. But wait, what I don't want to be the same kind of, but what I want to know is Top Gun but cars. Yeah. But how do they say it's a top movie? Wasn't it on Apple? No, it's Apple Plus. So it's like Superman, Fantastic Four, Jurassic Park, and Formula One are the highest grossing movies of the year so far. So yeah, I mean Formula One seems like a movie better than Jurassic World. Yeah. Here's my thing. I had a trip about Island. You want to ask me advice? So I got to say Island.
In space,
20 years, man. There's always some secret island that you have to date. I didn't see it last night. It's been 20 years. They've come to
electrically acceptable activity that is not using electronics and so on. It's part of my preparation for that much larger event.
And there are
this is, by the way, conducted under the leadership of Rabbi
You ever heard of a fucking?
no relation.
Oh yeah, I know you know what a T-Rex is.
The goal is to prepare
Oh my God, the T-Rex.
to discuss really difficult aspects for a study of how to relate to messages and pronouncing the material that we discussed here. We're starting with textual sources that we're going to look at together.
T-Rex is
If you are interested in participating, we're producing a pamphlet, text, and ephemera, art, things like that.
Oh, is it? I know.
Over the holiday, just contact.
Is it Fast and the Furious? No, it's not
Okay,
that bad.
enough
Okay.
preparatory
It's just
material
like,
to get right into the subject at hand.
well, what's watchable? I mean,
So
like,
if we look at
is Fast and the Furious watchable?
antiquity,
Or no?
this
On
is
a plane
something
is
that,
great.
of course,
So, you know, it's like,
very
I'm surprised. Have you guys seen that new Ice Cube movie that's like the lowest rating of all time? I want to watch it just for this reason. I have a right up your guys' alley. I have a hot take on this Ice Cube movie. I didn't see it, but I know it's got 0%. But it's, I think that we need to forgive this movie a little bit. And here's why. Because it's obviously a movie they made.
And the experience
obviously that.
Here is the
And so just government, because it's a shared screen movie, if I'm wrong, it's bad, it's gonna be bad, it's meant to be bad. It's just a COVID movie that they tried to make because they were gonna like be like, oh, this is COVID, so we made this movie for you. Alright, here's why I say we forgive the movie. It's War of the Worlds. You know, War of the Worlds, but my point is, it's still sort of an action sci-fi. If you put Ice Cube in, like, say, you know, like they're gonna remake A Few Good Men, then I'm like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? He's not a fence me in the same way. You know what I mean? So when you use Ice Cube, on the computer.
So there's kind of like
Well, they were, yeah, why wouldn't they? Because he's just like, it was you the whole time. Like, why wouldn't you be like, you saw it? No, I saw that. I saw the part. So there's a funny game, just like when someone has Ice Cube, one letter comes after T. He goes, it was you.
look at the Bible, you've got supernatural plays that are brought upon a people by God.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that movie's gonna be bad. What I don't like about Rotten Tomatoes is it's never good on rating things because people either really like it and really hate it, or the ones that are going to judge. Nobody's going in there giving it discern. Maybe critics are, but like, dude, if I say this movie sucks, let me go on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, this movie sucks. I'm rating it. Nobody's like, that's pretty good. Let's go Rotten Tomatoes and give it a fair score. Nobody's doing that. So if you're either going to get 0 to 10%, or it's going to be that stupid Marvel movie that everyone. And the Asian one, the 10 Rings, because all the Asians are like, finally, and it's got 99%, and you watch the movie, you're like, this is dog shit. Because, you know, it's like, they didn't help. No doubt. Take a little break, kids, from the golden hour and chatting with the boys, because UFC 319 is here, and it is live from Chicago, the Windy City. You have one of the greatest middleweight title fights ever. Hamza, DDP, it's all going down this Saturday. and you need to get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting part of the UFC. If you're new to DraftKings, check this out. New customers who bet 5 will get 200 bonus bets instantly. Don't miss out on all the UFC 319 action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code GOLDEN. That's code GOLDEN for new customers to get 200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-OPEN-Y or text OPEN-Y 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-79-7777 or visit ccbg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over age. Eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Boyd, Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms or responsible gaming resources, see dkg.co/audio.
So how was Jurassic World? Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, first of all.
All right, yeah, hello, hey, it's 2000. No, it's not. It's 2025. This is not Jurassic World.
You mean it's not 1990?
Yeah, Jurassic Galaxy. Well, that's 94. It came out in 94. Okay, we're not talking about when the book came out, but yes, 1994 was when it came out originally. No, but it's not. Look up when the first Jurassic Park came out.
This is when Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students.
Okay, so I was more right.
Right. I would wait.
Well, yeah. It was in the theaters in 1994. It was for sure in the theaters in 1994. It was for sure. And another came out in 1990. Oh, I was right, too. Hey, all I said was Jurassic Park came out in 1990. You know what I am really right? I'm the K-Rex, and that's his first knowledge. I know about these Rexes, but does your D not have a little But I think that, Jurassic Park, obviously, was really great. I love the first. I saw it at the Hollywood
community standards.
I saw that movie 9 times. I went to see that movie 9 times. Because every time that dinosaur came on the screen, I was like, yeah, it was pretty great. They did a whole new thing when they did that. Yeah, you go. That was the first time you saw something. Did you know realistic? Yeah. True. They were going to do it a certain way. And then this guy was like, this does better light and sound. Yeah, but he was like, I can do it better. And they're like, no. And then he was like, keep doing it anyway. You want me to shit all over your guys' love for Jurassic Park? You know, velociraptors in real life are the size of chickens.
The guy,
they're not scary in any facet.
They'll rip you apart.
the guy who did that,
No, they won't.
cracked it open. His heart was broken.
Oh, I know that. We talked about that yesterday.
Oh, that's right.
Hold on. Now, I don't. That was great. Jurassic World Rebirth is bad, but
You're still talking about that?
but Jurassic World Rebirth. Why are everything from the title on is bad? Rebirth means nothing. It's kind of like you have this great universe. This wonderful universe that we're going on, and you go, well, we can't just leave it. And I get that. Let's make another one. But it's like, my thing is this: there can't be another island where they had the dangerous dinosaurs that they couldn't bring to the amusement park. Yeah. It's almost 40 years. This guy keeps talking about how there's other islands. It's the same island. Not the same island.
It's the same. There's one fucking island, Eric.
No, there's more than one. But on this one, they go back to the original island.
Hey, when they start Jurassic World Rebirth, before the movie plays, it should say, "How bored are you?" Question mark.
Yeah, it should say.
I'm trying to give a hot take now.
Yeah,
It should say, "Nothing else to do, huh?" This is my hot take. Both of you guys, my question. This is my question for both of you guys. Brandon, you guys, when you watch movies, everybody in the house, we're just watching movies. Now, when you saw Jurassic Park the first time, and then we've had CGI now for 30 years. And every time there's CGI, we've been told that this is a team of people working on animation, and it takes months and maybe a year to do this. Now that we know a 10-year-old could go make a real dinosaur come across the screen, and now that the AI can make it like this, I think that we're now going to appreciate acting more now.
Well,
Because we can agree with it's not impressive.
they want it authentic. Yep.
And another take. It's going to be people are going to say this was made with no AI. Like that's going to be a thing, a label on movies now. So you go, oh, okay, cool. That's cool.
I understand, and there will be a market for that, but I disagree. I think what's going to happen is the biggest movies are going to become AI movies. They're going to not have actors in it, or they're going to take the likeness of somebody. The person's not going to work on it. It's going to be Hugh Jackman. He's 105 years. Hugh Jackman's going to be in movies. He's dead, and it's just his likeness, right? And I think that they're going to create, not only that, they're going to go beyond that and create fake movie stars that don't exist, and people are going to idolize them and become fans of them. And I think two things you may disagree with me. And let me just throw a wrench into your system here, and because if you're even slightly disagreeing with me, I have a counterpoint. Japanese people. Okay.
There were several waves of play that went through the Near Eastern world and show up. Primarily in the non-Jewish
I think that two things can be true at the same time. I think that will happen because it's already happening with music. There's a Spotify group that's not real, that it's top of the charts. It's not real people. But what I am saying is that the art of movie making. I think that when people go to the movies now, because people are already like, too much CGI in this.
I agree.
What I'm saying is, now that we know that the CGI is like effortless, I think we're going to start to like hone in on the.
I agree with you. Yeah, but I think the money maker and the business will be taken over by fakeness and AI. I don't think Chris Pratt will be more popular than.
No. Here's what I'm saying now. Japanese. I think the future of movies is the $200 million budget is gone.
Well, yeah, no, I understand because it makes too much money. Yeah.
No. I'm saying the budget.
I know. Now it could be $10. Yeah. It could be 14 cents. We're gonna have a basic universal income. You guys are out of your element.
What are you talking about?
There's gonna be no jobs, bro. The only job is gonna be magician because everyone knows that, how does that human do that? That's such an illusion. Nobody gives a fuck if AI can do an illusion because it all is an illusion. I mean, if a human can do it, they're like, oh, this illusion is magician. That's crazy. We know it's fake, but it's still tricking us. That's gonna be the only job. Doctors, plumbers, it's all gone. It's all gone. The only thing that's gonna matter are magicians and people on Twitch because it's a personality and a driven service. Nobody is gonna matter. There's gonna be a universal basic income. iPhones are going to be 14 cents. Nobody's going to be making them. You're just going to be sitting, chilling. We're going to be with our VR helmets on, just getting sucked by who's a beautiful dead movie star, Helen Mirren. Well, she's alive. You know what? Go back, dude. You want to talk about Gwyneth Paltrow? What she's making the goop candles? No, bro. When she's in Shakespeare in Love. You know what? I'll be right with you, too. You know what? I won't be with you. I quit my job.
Also, the professions of medicine and science would allow them in.
I'm getting sucked off by Gwyneth Paltrow in Shakespeare in Love, dude. And Ben Affleck
allows for contagion to spread.
He was in the movie. You ever see those chairs? I don't give a fuck. You ever see those chairs where you sit like this? You sit like this and your monitor's like this. It's going to be that kind of thing. You just get in, it's like, I think it's going to be like no, because all the apparatus has to be right there. You sit in it naked. I think you're on your element. What? I think the tube goes in your butthole. You know what I mean?
Well, now we're talking. How about this, dude? I
think we're already maybe in it. I don't know if the real world exists anymore. We might be in this simulation.
Oh God, the worst take ever.
The worst take. No, okay, that's fine, and I understand. And yes, I'm open to whatever. But check this out, dude. That's us. Look up sex robots. I want to see how they're organizing. Wait, okay, let me try to explain this. I tried to explain this to Eric. I tried to explain this to that's that, by the way, that's me and my wife in love right there. In the future, you can just be black whenever you want. You just gotta get a thing. It's kind of like a filter, a light filter. But let me tell you something, though. Okay, look at time.
There you go.
All right.
Because the Jews
Look at
didn't like
time
dogs. That's why they got the black dogs.
as an infinite, right? Time keeps going. Okay.
And the last thing that
You
people say
believe in this bullshit, but you don't believe in ghosts. Okay, keep
No,
going.
I'm not saying I don't. I'm not saying I believe in this. I'm not saying I believe in this. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying I don't believe in ghosts. I'm saying, what's up? You don't believe in ghosts. Because that's me. You're not? Okay, I don't believe it. Because that's me. We'll talk. We'll just move this. Move that. But I'm saying, what I'm saying is, time keeps going. All right. So if you take
You're out of your element, dude.
if you take a point where you would say, okay, it's this time. If you're just saying it's this time, all right, chances are.
And I just happen to have something to
Mythic
show you. I was
we lost you. Talk about insert an ad right here, please. And then come back to the ad, and Chris goes, and that's why time doesn't exist. Just do it like this, please. So, exception. So, it wasn't that, but it couldn't be because of this. Leonardo DiCaprio in Exception. We know we just double time. It was something we wanted.
First we get to see the 18th century decorated method, then we get to see
If we only thought about that one goddamn thing. Wait, but hold on.
Here we go.
You know what? I don't want to fucking talk. What are you saying? You come back from the please. You know what? I don't want to talk about this. There we go. Okay. Turn us to Mike. I don't know what you're doing right now. It's like this, dude.
Visited the site in 1599. They were attended by a blind rabbi.
Take all of the Industrial Revolution, right? Like take when they made they're so out of hell. Take when they made it. They created cars, right? Okay. Pick one. There's mud. Okay, pick cars. It's 7. Pick cars. Okay. Time. Okay. We've had more time, right? Without cars than we have with cars. Yeah, I mean, just way more. Yeah.
Similar to modern
as time progresses, the time where we don't have cars gets less and less and less and less. Until eventually, that time we don't have cars is 0.0001%. Yeah. Okay. Same with AI. Okay. The time we have AI, even shorter than okay. Now think about as time keeps going and going and going and going. On a scale, if you were to pick a time to be period, you would probably pick a time where we would be in a simulation in AI because it had to have existed more than it hasn't because time keeps going. So there is a better chance that we are in that time, percentage-wise, than we are in the time without AI. Because of how, if all time is this table, what's in Chris's coffee? Yes. So and I'm not saying that that's how it is. I'm not.
No, you're right.
Okay,
It's spot
so
on.
let's go
Well,
to
you're
the
saying
scope of the computer
I'm saying
here
like,
and
the
specifically
chances
do
are almost nil
the
that we are not in a
huge
simulation. If you
devastation.
think
We're
about it in
talking
that way.
about 20%, 40% of the population in some places being killed as a result of the black spot. Phenomenal change going on in society. And people all over looking to find ways to respond. Perhaps the most significant for our purposes
No,
was
there's
the
just something about
sudden
the face.
explosion of movements
USB
like the
powered
flagellants.
vaginal heating wand.
Or
That's nice.
No,
those
it
who
sounds-
Comes with a non-staining blanket.
and these
Well,
were
no,
Christians who believed that the plague
That's
was a
non-staining
punishment
for a
for
way
their
to
sexual
Yeah,
behavior.
That's you're saving this Greek technology for the sex robots. Look at the shipping case value. Wow. That shipping case alone is $800 value. Yeah, because that's your wife while you're fucking the sex robot.
Send her back.
Yeah, you said
Give me a rebate if they return a wife.
About 7 years later, which is
with
again
your
the kind of
wife, you're like, oh shit, look at this, cool. We got
the
this
movie
thing.
that
So
I showed
hot,
this
right? Wow, look at that.
phenomenal book of the
What should I
dead
put in that
describes
box?
how a skeletal
I'll
death-like
be back.
figure
That'd be
seizes
the
all kinds
commercial.
of people.
Yeah,
Here,
it's
seizing a
back.
soldier.
Oh, Nick, does it say how much it weighs?
Businessman, the death is present, even
Better not
a
be more than
joyous
105.
celebration.
Oh, look at those options.
Wait, go down, Nick. Go down, James. Look at the advanced skeletal with shrugged shoulders. No, right there, bro. Come on. That one right there. Look at that. The fixed one looks like, what's that? Advanced skeleton. Look,
Oh, advanced sexual positions.
You want her to be like, you want to have sex?
I saw a guy talking about like going up. I want to see how is the legs. What is this like that you can pick different body types? You look, I'll put a good booty on it. Nick, go down and look at this white girl. Go up. This booty, Nick.
You're saying up and down.
No, down is up. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, that ass
I was
is
sitting that ass terrible. Hey, y'all are crazy. Can you put an ass on it? Y'all are crazy, bro. This is the whitest you've ever
Chris is like,
seen.
can I get a flatter ass? Is there an option for a flatter ass?
Who in the room thinks that's the nice ass? No.
I think the picture, honestly, is not doing it justice because that is not the top of her ass. The top of her ass is actually here.
Nice. So it's this is just a terrible song. It's such a quincy, it's falling off.
The legend kind of morphed a little bit
You're
and
saying,
adapted
I
and
want to
became
throw
much
it.
more
I almost threw
powerful.
it. I like
The idea that the Jews
That's what it should have been.
with the leopards
Now look at her.
and with the
The
devil
flatter one?
Look.
create
She looks. Hey, dude. Hey, Eric. Hey, she looks
this is a wood
fine.
cut graphic from the period that shows a Jew in kind of like an Oriental costume, kind of exotic accent, and he's holding in his hand a little
And you're with a girl like that, you're not looking at her face anyway. So it's like, it looks weird like that. Like, yeah, there's
made up of
that's
flesh
what's great about this because the AI is going to be in there. So this is great.
spider venom.
So you can, like, this is how you want your AI to look. So you can just be like, hey,
I'm
I'm looking at new cars. Can you like tell me the best cost efficient, most fuel efficient way? And then so wait, while you're which body type would you go for? Because this will zoom in, go over it, and say, hey, pick the ones
167.
I know you would, and I would. The question is, which one I know you would pick. I know which one I would pick, but
Chris is his supermodel. Chris is supermodel.
I know which one I'd pick. I know all these. Which one? Can I guess? You can guess if you want.
166.
Supermodel's the 169.
Chris is 166 supermodel.
I'm saying 169 because 169 is. Okay, and then go down. No, the one I would pick is 158.
Added to that was the notion that somehow Jews needed to drain him of his blood.
What's that? He's a little with the European slope. European slope.
Which ironically, the higher church,
He's a little thick.
160 plump looks weird. 160 plump looks like out of shape.
It's not true that you
You're pick that shit, you
but the
fucking
lower
asshole.
clergy,
You would pick it. Look at you, pick the 167. You guys are all over that 167. Look at that. She didn't even look like a real human.
I am.
You know what? That's big ass.
Oh, wow, it does.
That's why I picked it, for God's sake.
Just for shits, I would not pick that. Should we just order one of these for the studio, just for
Sweetie, it's research. Really for hospitality.
It's for golden hour, and I get to the golden hour if you want to fuck it. It's okay. And I get to go first, so it's all good.
I won't get what Nick has.
Hilarious. Like, that's how you would get it. That's how people are going to get diseases now. So you're letting your friends fuck you. You have to get tested.
Two basic elements.
Wow, that needs to be unpacked. That whole story needs to be like,
you can't.
Can they walk? Like, this is what I don't like about this.
Yeah, they will, bro.
But this is my point, though. It's like, if you have to do all that setup, so this is what you have to do, actually. This is what you have to do. You got to get your doll, you got to take it out, you got to get it dressed and whatever, clean it up. Then I have to set it up on the wall. Okay? Take care of sick. I have to put the leg up on the wall, and then I have to walk out of the room and come back in and go, oh, what's up? You just wait for me? Yeah, like, I can't do all that. No, it just takes away from it.
Yeah, it does.
But
why don't they make a zombie movie?
Jews and incarnation,
Where
they're really controlling all of the allies, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin,
not
and it's
kill.
really
That
the
would be
Jews behind it all.
crazy, right?
Of
If they made, where's the zombie movie?
This isn't real, right? It's not real. That's not real. Okay. Because that girl, that's all.
That's
That's how you want the whole thing is head. That's how you want it to look. Also, that they are hurts.
This is one of those.
No, but why don't they make a zombie movie where the fucking zombie,
they just go,
it's like, they don't insult. It's like, they don't get, they run and they just fuck you, and like, the dudes are like, oh my god, that. Dude, come on, we don't want to get fucked. We need milk, but we don't want to get fucked. We need to go get supplies. But dude, walk backwards.
You're going to be like, right. I want to see that movie, Pedro Pascal. That'd be fucking awesome. Bro, I want to be in it. They're going to put you in there. Okay, what's up? That's why they're going to see you.
This kind of interview makes me very nervous about how it is perceived.
The Crystalia bounce back, that'll be your Pulp Fiction. And you know what?
Those are things that
like when a human does wrong with the society, you put a clamp in that opens his mouth and you send him out.
Many other diseases are speaking back and forth across the globe with some regularity. Smallpox and cholera.
Your asshole is also clean. Running a train on it. This is a terrible movie. I mean, it's bad also. Let's make the AI make that movie. So I'm saying, dude, you jack those like this. You know what I mean? I'll open up my, what would you call it? You know,
choleric dog.
Just when you thought summer couldn't get any hotter, Pluto TV is turning up the heat with thousands of free movies. Presenting Summer of Cinema. Stream your favorite blockbuster films like Gladiator, I Will Have My Vengeance, Good Burger, Beverly Hills Cop, The Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, and Julie and Julia. All for free on your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
what's this?
Cristiano Ronaldo got an egg for his wife's
Oh my God, look at that.
Isn't it like, you know, it's $1 million?
Yeah, there's a tracking device in it. Yeah.
But it's just so he knows when she's not walking in. Because he's not tracking her. He's not tracking her to see where she is.
Dude. When you give your chick a ring like that, she's already there. She's opening the door for the mistress. Look how stupid this is. It's like this. Oh, hey, Tatiana. Look how stupid this is. He's in the other room. YouTube commented congratulations on their Instagram. Oh, I know. Cringy. So famous. There's a certain amount of money that it's like, she said yes, like there was never any doubt. Yeah, what are you talking about? So he was single until now?
Actually, $400,000.
That shit looks like this.
No, they have 6 kids.
There's no way that's 400,000, Nick. Who told you
It's
that?
gotta be more than that.
I heard
also,
€400,000.
this time in Akko,
that's dollars. It has to be.
No, look it up, big dog. That's way more than that.
You don't know. That could be like a.
today is
I don't
because
know, that percentage of us being in the simulation of the time where simulation existed would be. You just figured it out.
Never mind, 2 to 5.
He was
Two to
a
five million.
brilliant scholar who
Yeah,
did
and I'm
so
sure
many
they're clear.
phenomenal
There's
works
no
in many
clouds in
different
my
areas, not
stones.
only in areas
$5
like
million ring.
He bought a
Mossad,
lab
was
made
very
diamond.
famous, the ethical works, also in Kabbalah,
Yeah.
also in
Oh, no. This one. No. This one. With this ring, you get pictures of the kids that dug it up. You know what I mean? It's just. You know what I mean? That's not one dime.
I'll tell you what's alarming is their arms are the same size.
Well, yeah, because he's thin as fuck too. Running around, play soccer. But that's not one diamond, is it? Wow.
Yeah, dude.
I think it's 2 diamonds. No, I thought it was 9 pieces together. I didn't know.
No, it's one diamond. It's one diamond. That's what's so shocking.
What shocking is you already know. He went cheap. Why do you know? He went cheap on the, it's like a rope tying it, like a little string. Oh, wait, hold on. Why does Brendan always know about this ring?
Because I got my ear to the ground. I got my ear to the ground. That's when you're dick in another man's butt. You gay.
No, I'm kidding. So you're not gay. You're really heterosexual. This guy's like,
No, my wife told me this morning.
Oh,
Well, flying fuck. Yeah, well, I don't give a fuck. Honestly, I'm not even being a hater. I thought he was gay. Okay.
I mean, he is. We had to, you know,
besides the
this
kind
guy's
of
fucking guys.
rudimentary social distancing strategies that were evident
Here's how I know. I would if I was up there.
one of the
If
other
I was him,
elements also
bro, I'm gonna be fucking.
expressed in the
There's
comic
nothing else to
is
do at
the,
that point. Nah, fuck.
which
You're
is
a hero.
a lot of rabbis
I mean, I might not be, I wouldn't be a bottom, but bro, he tried it once. I'm on a yacht. He's at a party with the, you know, the eyes wide shut. I'm gonna be ding, ding, ding.
Eventualities of disease.
This is funny. This is funny.
Oh, I did see this. First call, first female umpire in history.
Just set them back.
A false messiah of the 17th century.
History in the making.
Drawing a very large band of Jews all across Europe.
It was so far outside.
Disaster when he ended up
I mean, look, that happens, but
That's bad. They're talking about getting rid of the umpires, though.
producing amulets after this
No, they're not.
was a very
No, they're not gonna let
dangerous many people
I know, because they're so.
the producers as being followers of the
historic call that they're putting that ball in the MLB
this,
or in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
trend.
They're crazy if that batter didn't walk away and say something fucking. This is super sexist when he got back to the Dodgers.
I want to ask you guys. I want to ask you guys a dad question. Married dad question. Does your wife, when the kids were young, did they ever talk to you through the kids? Meaning, like, you know, they got the kids, they'll be like, oh, daddy needs to, you know, daddy needs to take the trash out right now. You know what I mean? You ever do that? Don't do that. I would lose my mind. Oh my god, she would lose her mind if I did. Rachel does that sometimes. She's doing it tongue in cheek joking. No, he's also got it up. I always go, I hear you. But we had some friends come over that they have a kid that's like a month and a half older than, you know, they go, here's your mom and stuff. And I just saw how they interacted with each other, and I was just like, oh, okay. I don't do that. That's a recipe for disaster.
Have you ever been over a friend's house and you can tell they're not doing well? Like I was over a neighbor's house. She's like, oh, I'll just drive him. He goes, no, I got it. Like, you want me to stay and make the chick ten? She goes, just trying to help.
Oh, yeah.
I'll see myself out.
That's, yeah. You know what it is? Okay, here's how you know a couple has problems. Because what are you going to allow to be shown in front of a stranger, in front of someone? Okay? So, like, if you're having an issue, you might be like, oh, man, there's a level. But if your level in front of people is like, what? Then you know when no one's around. It's Diddy vibes. Yeah. It was funny because I was watching my hands, you know, we go little steps to school, stand on the steps to like, I go, wash your hands together. And the other kid didn't want to wash his hands at all. And then the mom goes, oh, I think Daddy needs to start washing hands with you. I would get so much heat for that. If I did that, oh no, I'd be a dog.
No, never.
I like seeing other kids though, like around that Wolf's age. Like it's so weird that the grass is always greener because like Wolf's like very athletic in compared to this other kid. Like Wolf's running around and he can throw the ball up and back. You know, but then others you go running and they were running and you go fuck yeah. Yeah, they were running, but then this other kid just talking more than Wolf. Yeah, you know, Lily comes on and the kid's like, Calvin is, and Wolf doesn't do that. He's like brainiac. You know, Wolf
Not to say that amulets were not invoked, other things like
Wolf goes like he does sign language, you know, so like when he does when he goes all done, this is all done. So he doesn't say it necessarily.
He learned that from a baby though. But he did that when he was a baby, right, Eric?
No, he learned this from watching Miss Rachel and
Miss Rachel.
Rachel shows she does that stuff. How old is Wolf now? 18 months. We had his 18-month 17.
credibility, advocates
Dude,
supports
the other day, Billy,
it contravenes
I got a FaceTime from my wife.
Such as
It's
fasting
Billy.
on a fast day.
He says, hi,
the law
Dad.
is
It's fucking, he's 2.5. I'm like, when did this
the
start
medical
happening?
opinion. Kind of like a safe
Wolf locks me out of my phone for 10 minutes. Well, yeah, that's my favorite thing.
So,
This
This is what I like. Okay, I come in the room,
underlying
and
something
Rachel's
which
like,
is very
you better put Daddy's wallet away. You know,
you have
credit cards everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I say that to my wife. You better put my wallet away.
I think you didn't see that. Why you never happened? And I go, okay, you watch when he gets into your shit.
Eric, have you had it yet where your kid's playing and you can tell the kid's a problem? Like he's a bad kid? Have you ran into that yet?
No, but I have ran into a lot. I have. Wolf's got a lot of sass.
Yeah.
He's doing this now where you go,
Century
they
is
give me an attitude. I go, hey, you gotta come over here. He goes, just wait, bro. It's so much. I'm like, what?
It's a little personality.
Yeah, he's got
It's weird, like when I was just in San Antonio with T in Boston, we were like playing football and there's a ton of kids. There was like 2 kids who were terrible athletes and just bad kids, like really bad. And at first I was gonna step in and be like, don't play with them, but I was like, let them figure it out. You know, and T came over, he's like, Dad, I'll just wait. Like that kid sucked at football. I was like, does he seem like a kid? He's like, no. I was like, yeah.
I do think that the temperament, you know, of like whatever the relationship is between, I do see how that has an effect. You know, like Rachel is very much like the mom and dad effect. Yeah, let's breathe, and like she's very like she's very measured with him and with Kristen. You know, and so I might be like a reaction. So I've noticed it. Like if I just go, because sometimes I'm just like, you know, I'll be like, hey, what? You know, and then I see him, and he's like, I look at all his face, and I go, oh, I can't do this. You know, so I just go, now you have a lot of like, you're telling you to stop. You know what I mean? You just have to find different ones. But what I'm saying is, if you see a couple that's having issues, you see the kid is like acting a certain way, you go, oh.
But the custom was that only one person every given prayer
you also don't want to be a helicopter parent either. When I see bad kids, my instinct is like, T, come here. Keep you and your brother away from them, but I want them to figure it out. Like I'm not always going to be there, so it's tough to be like, fuck.
I know. Like the other day, Billy was doing something to Calvin, and it was like annoying. And Calvin just goes like that. He falls down, and he goes, and Calvin looks at me like, am I in trouble? And I'm like, I said to him, I was like, that's how he's gonna learn, bro. Like it's just like dogs. You gotta get the alphas, gotta. So Billy is just, I mean,
dominant custom.
Calvin's very.
Now,
Full of Billy's just Chris Farley. I mean,
I was gonna say, I feel like Billy's gonna be like the big little brother.
And what
They're the same size
really
already.
Yes, I'm saying.
story. Actually, it's not even.
And so that's not gonna last for very long. You know?
No, but I mean, like, you know, Calvin just, it's gonna be like Chris Rock and Tony Rock. Yeah, no.
But Eric, don't you want more than one kiddo? Aren't you going to have one?
We're trying to work.
Hell yeah.
Well, we fuck with that sex robot and do the real thing. Hey, dog.
Well, you get the sex robot ticket to pamper you, and then
Prayers
is
you
you get the sex robot for the fluffing, and then you know, at the end, you pull out, you kiss in your wife.
While she's in the coffin.
Cut a hole in
Nobody
her.
should fast on Yom Kippur this year because of health implications.
Move your pussy up.
Well,
I
the
can't
source of want to make sure that nobody felt that if you're really religious, you're fasting.
No, it's
the medical rule is you should not
I
fast.
think that it's really, I got home yesterday from Miami.
Let's go on to.
I saw my kids and they were just stupid. It's so cool to see how much, how excited they get. Like when you come home, like
we're still very much
still young,
actually in
but
this race. We're still doing this.
But once it turns into, you can see them saying like, oh, Dad's back. He's actually back. He was gone and now he's back. That shit is.
Do you FaceTime all the time?
All the time.
Reasonable manner to be able to.
Well, nothing's worse when they get old enough. Nothing's worse when they get old enough and they start having their own friends. Like every Saturday, Sunday, I go to the car show, and then this Sunday, I told Dean Boss, like, "Yo, you guys ready to go to the car show?" And they're like,
talk about it. They go back, they look at the source,
we're going over
like
our buddy's house. We'll give you that
go
nine.
really
Like Brendan in his car.
Yeah,
Or just like
cool.
that.
Often after the fact.
That was on
And then
myself.
back to 2 years later to
It's funny
decide
with
for
all this
specific
shit.
individual
That's
cases.
funny, huh?
But the idea of
You have
making
more kids.
broad
If
generalizations
Wolf will grab the phone and just run.
it's not typically
So
the
all I
way
see is him.
halacha works. It tends to be something that
You know, with the
rabbis
phone.
use,
But then he loves that red button.
Chris, are you a
large
Miami
canvases,
guy?
but for specific
Chris, you take
questions,
Miami? You like
I tell you
Miami
what,
uses a scalpel to
I mean, it's
deal
fun to
with specific
visit, but like,
surgical
no, I'm
need
not a
or
Miami guy. I didn't even stay. I
whatever.
stayed in.
Me neither.
That's changed so much
Miami,
because
but like,
so many people are looking for
No,
direction.
well, the club is
How
in
do we
Doral.
deal
And
with
bro,
this
these,
COVID-19?
have
One
you
of
done
the
the Miami
voices
improv?
that has become
Which one?
very
The
prominent
new one.
is
It's
that
like
of
5
Rabbi
years old.
Rothschild.
Oh, no, I haven't done that one.
Who
I
has
did the other
published
one. I
a
did the other
virtual
one. I don't want to
library
say.
of guidance on how to
Jania?
behave,
Yeah. They don't call it
particularly
dating. What they call it?
much of the crisis happened here in the New York
That's
City
the United States
area. Now with the high concentration of
Miami
Jews
one?
and
Oh, really?
concentration of observant Jews,
Bro, it was.
and
I was like,
the
well, this is going to be
Passover
rough.
holiday
Miami
in the
sometime.
middle
You're
of
going to
April.
want to do other
So
shit.
a lot of his rulings came out because of the
It
need
was
of
awesome.
how do
That
we,
club
for
is awesome. Shout
example,
out
this
to
is the time when
Melissa
people
and Justin,
typically
who
buy
but man, it is awesome.
vessels for
Welcome. How are you?
We're coming back.
and they have to be immersed in a mikvah,
Yeah.
but it might
That's it right. Yeah,
it
that's
might be
it. They all look the
closed.
same.
How are we supposed to
Yeah,
deal with
looks
that?
like
That's Chris on stage.
There's
That's
a
cool.
lot of
That's AI.
rulings,
Yeah,
many of
whatever.
which
That's what it
were
looks like. That's
surprisingly
not a real audience. No, I think
I
it's just
happen to know
what do you call it?
more than one archive
Was Kevin
of
there? Is Kevin with that white girl?
COVID-19 materials that are being collected to
Yeah.
try and document all this stuff that's happening right now.
Oh, there
My
I am.
colleague David Sellis.
Anyway, it was fantastic.
But that doesn't mean
I
that
love it.
everybody is like falling into
Like,
lockstep.
you know, it was like raining for fucking 20 minutes so hard, and then I was crazy.
Flouting
Like it
rabbinic
rains for
authority,
20 minutes very hard, and then it's hot.
medical authority,
No, this is
and,
Miami,
doing
Florida.
their own
Oh,
things.
Chris,
Sometimes
Chris,
it's
was
very
everyone late? Was everyone in Miami comes late?
Yep.
Was everyone late?
strong
Yep.
religious impact.
Yeah,
Here's a
always
letter
all
that just
done.
appeared
Doing super late over there.
from
Go to
Israel
Samtrip, please.
2 days ago. I saw it yesterday.
When he
And this,
posted
you gotta
about,
check out this text here. This is
I
written
reposted on
by
my story,
the,
but,
the leadership of Young
what's her
Israel,
name?
very
What
long,
is it?
large Young Israel in Florida.
the
I'll just
actress,
read the first paragraph.
comedian.
It is with
the fat-
complete
yeah, Amy
disgust
Schumer.
and
Redhead?
revulsion we
No,
are
Amy
forced to
Schumer.
share with you that in spite of our own Mora Dahaska's clear halakha guidance,
What happened to
Rabbi
Amy Schumer? She's
and
still
those of
alive?
the Orthodox
Yeah, she
Union,
was she
not
just
only
I mean,
this,
she had some kind of big surgery or
RCA,
something.
another
She
rabbinic
just came out
organization,
with
plus
this.
recent medical guidance by
Because the
Rabbi
moms
Dr.
are the
Alan
ones
Watts.
handling shit
There were a
and
number of people who
communicating.
blatantly
Imagine if your
violated
dad
our Shia's
1 year
policy
was in charge of
and
planning
indeed
your
participated
birthday party.
in
I
the
wouldn't have had
overall
one. No, okay?
That's
And I think this is, and men are in charge of the
One of the
world.
funny things
It's
from Twitter, by the way,
the
is
world.
It is a blessing for you to be able to stay home and plan a birthday party. You know how easy, you know how lucky it is that you can stay home and plan a birthday party while your husband has some job where you can write and he prays an AI or some Indian doesn't come on an H-1B visa
up and fucking takes his job? You don't think I can plan a fucking party? I can't. Because I'm working all the time.
Possible
The
danger.
guy's so funny. Amy Schumer just kind of went away, huh? She just kind of ate her feelings and then she disappeared. Just like,
This type of behavior on individuals who
right, no, because she has a thing out now, right? Like, out of the show or something.
Another movie that's gonna bomb. She's such a fucking lame ass. She used to be a beast. She used to be great.
Wow,
Well,
really strong
she's there.
language.
Oh yeah, I guess on the roast and stuff.
No,
Which particular cause.
On the road she was good, and then on what is it, Kevin? The fucking the big LA morning show. Romeo's on there, Ari, all the boys.
I don't know about it.
3,000 years.
But I don't know. It's just like, stop saying this. The women hating men era, dude. It's like, it's like, whatever. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, you know what I mean? All right, you know.
Well, that's because Amy doesn't date a real dude. Like, if my wife went on a podcast and talk like that, bitch, what? No, she's gonna come home and be like, "You're so right, sweetie. You want me to make you some fucking tortillas or whatever the fuck he does? He's a chef. Some cut, some soft cut.
I don't know who she's married to, but you know.
He's super soft. Look him up. He's soft. That's what she has to date. That's what she needs to wait
Saw it so many times, but it's just like whatever she's selling is just it's bullshit. That's what is she saying? And I get it. They might have just been talking, and this is one of the problems with podcasting. It's just like, you know, nothing. It's like you know, they cut that together, and it's just like, all right, I'm sure they call her daddy, like they call her daddy woman. What's her name? Alex. She was like, "It's terrifying, men around the world." That's something that somebody might just say offshoot, you know. But this is what Amy Schumer's always saying. Yeah, it's like.
No, when she was coming up, she wasn't like this. Remember, she got to start talking about sucking dick
that's
and
the other
being
thing.
a slut and doing all this slutty shit.
For
and then all of a sudden she's like,
it's like, what are you for real?
Now all of a sudden she's in her ivory tower. No,
it's like
she's one of those about Callan, going bad on Callan.
These female comics, it's like some of them, you know, they were, a guy's girl, and then they turned into, hey, women's rights, and now they're right wing. It's like, bro, you're noble. Well, you're just like, yeah, exactly. You just want to make money. You want to be liked. That's not what. Fuck all that shit. It's like you're not. To me, it's like they say comedians need to have a point of view. What's the matter if it keeps changing? I understand people grow and grow out of certain things, but like, bro, if you're just gonna go with whatever's fashionable, go. You're not. Steve Byrne is going in on Howard Stern a lot, really.
Is he?
On his Instagram and stuff, because he's talking about how Howard Stern went full FD because he would have got canceled.
Same with Jimmy Kimmel.
But they said that's not why they didn't get canceled. They didn't get canceled because it's like it just happens to whoever it happens to. But they're if you go that far over to that side, you're a pussy. You're a weak pussy. You know, I understand it. You know, it's fashionable right now. I guess I don't know to be like, a little bit more right wing, but it's just like,
we've had some tremendous work
by those people who were being in 2020 to before that,
and we have that fascinating
2024.
And very sophisticated poster by Ricky Adler that's in our front lobby, and I'm really grateful for everyone who put this together.
You're horrible. Like it's good. We're gonna look, but they're all fucked, Chris. They're all fucked. They're like, most of them are losing their jobs and they can't make a living. Right? They made a deal with the devil.
In a very short period
They don't have a fan
so that
base.
people would fill in the gaps in their own body of knowledge.
It's just like, soft anyways. Yeah, I don't solve things the wrong way, but yeah, I understand
Why soft? That's what they are.
I get it because it implies that, I guess to me it implies that men are these hard, non-feeling types, but you know, I understand what you're saying. I just, that word, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Well, I don't like when
hopefully
people talk
fill in
about.
some of the lacuna in the knowledge. Okay, let us begin with one of the most difficult aspects of this topic. Because we are doing a survey, we have to begin with a little bit of historical theory. And this is an area that most historians prefer to avoid because we have some really basic questions which on the surface seem to be completely obvious. But when you actually dig down into them, they become incredibly difficult. So let's start with what is Jewish history? Now, this is my graduate seminar. I was probably in the best comment to a whiteboard exercise and think about like what it is. But if everyone seems to know what it is, the reality, Jewish history is something that does not exist.
You don't go to
What I mean by that,
if
it
you
already
say something bad
happened.
about him.
By definition, does not exist.
You
I
have
study. I
maybe
spend my life
companies will be
studying
like, oh, I don't know if I want to fuck with that person. That's just how the world works.
So, but nevertheless, we
that
all
has nothing
have
to
a
do with
working
fucking
knowledge
fascism. And I
of
know
this
fascism.
non-existent thing. This thing which
Shut up.
stopped a second
This
ago.
is
And
great. Steve Burns' tweet was great. He's 100%
one of
spot
the
on.
ways I like to think of
Well,
Jewish
sure,
history,
yeah.
and I think
It's
will
like,
be a guiding light
and the other
for
thing,
us, is to think
you
about
could argue
the
people
poetry
grow,
of
people
Hannah
change.
Arendt. Many of you, I'm sure, familiar with this very courageous Hungarian Jewish woman who managed to leave her native Hungary and make it to Israel during the First World period. And then, at a very young age, in her 20s, she volunteered to parachute back into Nazi Germany to try and rescue some of the doomed religionists in
So, by the
Hungary.
way,
She
if
was
that's okay,
unfortunately
if you
captured
come
by
from
the
a different area,
Nazis.
we're going to
She
forgive
was
that, then okay.
tortured, but
But
she
we're not,
refused to
obviously,
divulge any
at that
of
point.
her
Money
secrets
becomes
and what she
the thing,
knew
man,
about the other people on this mission, and she was ultimately executed.
Green.
One of her
I hate
Hebrew
headlines like
poems
this.
is an incredibly haunting
Howard Stern
testament
reportedly
to
can't
her
stand
life
yellow
and
series
her vision, and also gives us a lot of
and why do
impetus
we
for
need to
our
know
own study of Jewish
yeah,
history.
that for sure, but then
I'll
also
read in Hebrew and we'll translate as well.
somebody said
I'm sure many of you are familiar with this.
that doesn't mean anything. This is on whoever this is that wrote this article. Yeah, no, I know. This is whoever wrote Audrey Rock.
There are stars whose life
they want clicks and we're covered.
It's PR by series. They're like making it look bitter, like prop her up. She's the star.
There are people.
But people don't realize that. They go,
But I also believe that he probably hates her because he's like the most bitter person in the world.
whose radiance illuminates
well, I don't know.
when they
Yeah,
themselves
he hates
are gone
competition.
and no
She's
longer
crush
among
on
us.
her.
Meaning, just like we
But
can in the night
you're
sky observe
72.
stars
Yeah, you
that
had your
have
time.
died eons ago,
There was a time when
and
he
yet
was the
their
biggest
life
thing
now
ever.
reaching
That's so
us,
weird.
and we can study their
That's so
lives long
That's
after
so
the
weird
rest
when
of
that
us.
happened.
So
Christopher's
there are
coming to
people
Texas. Who's
who
FM
infuse
wrote
our
it?
own lives
Oh, you
with
know,
meaning and
I'm actually going to be in
significance,
Austin
even though they are no longer
Sunday.
among us.
It's Sunday. Yeah, Sunday.
These
Okay,
lights,
so for how long?
and it's
Just
referring to
Sunday.
both
At least I'll leave the
the
next day. I
stars
come home Monday.
and to people.
What are you doing here? Because Matt's shooting his special in Austin, so I'm going to. Oh, yeah. In September. So I'm going to do a tech scout at the theater.
And so therefore, I'd like to suggest a
All
very
right. You know what
utilitarian
bothers me is
approach
that
to
some
Jewish
people
history, in
take
that
Matt Rife as a crowd work comic.
it's difficult
I get
to
he puts
say
those stuff out, but
that
he
we have
has
to study,
material.
like George
He does an
Santayana
hour of
said, the
material.
lesson
So
of
it's like,
history,
it's so
or else
annoying.
we are
I
doomed
guess,
to repeat
I
them.
get,
That is very
it's so
true
annoying
as
when
I
people
come
say,
undergraduate.
he
If
doesn't
you do not
have
study for history
that.
220, you will be doomed to repeat it next semester. But for our purposes, we definitely can gather meaning and insight and purpose by studying Jewish history. That's where I'd like to take us over the course of the next 4 lectures. Now, the periodization that we're going to study is somewhat artificial. We're going to look at 4 distinct periods. First, we're going to look at ancient history today. It will be the most challenging of all of the lectures because we will be looking at some philosophically very difficult material. I hope to present it in an intellectually authentic manner and yet not offend our religious sensibilities at the same time. Then we will go on to the medieval period. The terminology medieval is really Christian in origin. It means between the eras. It means between the classical era of Roman Greece, which was considered a golden age, and then the era of the Renaissance, literally the rebirth of that same civilization in later Europe. Those terms don't exactly fit with Jewish time, but nevertheless we'll use those rough markers. We'll look at the periods from the close of the Mishnah and the
a large depopulation of the land of Israel in the wake of the Bar Kokhba revolt in the 2nd century, and we'll take it all the way up to the cataclysmic Spanish expulsion, which was a huge, devastating impact on world Jewry, comparable only to the way the Holocaust has had an impact on contemporary Jewry. Then we'll look at modern Jewish history, which basically extends from the Spanish Inquisition and expulsion of late 15th century up until roughly the turn of the 20th century, and then we'll look at the last century right up until our present day. So I've spaced them out here in 4 equal lectures in terms of minutes, but if you try to look at them in terms of actual gaps of time, you can see that they're really quite uneven. We're going to spend a lot of time today, 60 minutes, and then we're going to be looking at less and less time over the same amount of actual lecturing time. So that's, at any rate, the format of the course is very graphically. We're going to go over these various periods. One other thought in terms of theory before we get to the material itself. We should understand that history is a kind of an art in which the understanding of the discipline depends very much on the lens through which one observes it. One of the things that undergraduates often think is, why do we have to keep writing new history textbooks? The true answer is because the textbook companies can then make money off selling them to you. That was a joke. I know some of you got it, but the reality is because every historian frames the same facts in a very different way. Again, I don't have the luxury of time to speak about this in detail, but let's look at 3 major encyclopedic historians, and I'll give you a sense of how historiography changes depending on who is the historian. We start with one of the greatest of the encyclopedic historians, Heinrich Gretz. Many of you may have, perhaps even as like a bar mitzvah present, the 6-volume English translation by Henrietta Zold of the History of the Jews. And I'd like to call his historiography heroic Jewish history, because the model that he used to describe Jewish history is one in which, the Jews are such wonderful, decent, airlift, intelligent, good-looking people, and yet society keeps putting them down. And we're always subject to anti-Semitism. But we nevertheless rise up against this horrible persecution, and once again, we're put down again. But we nevertheless irrepressibly rise up once again. And this is a very kind of like, you can see why it's a great bar mitzvah gift, right? Because it's a feel-good kind of history. It doesn't talk about the nebuchs that we know in real life. It certainly doesn't talk about too many of the Jewish criminals that unfortunately you read about in the New York Times. It's a kind of feel-good Judaism, which we should understand was extremely appropriate for his time and place in late 19th century Germany. And he was taken heavily to task by another historian, Heinrich von Treitschke, who argued that this is exactly why we have to get the Jews out of Germany. And his slogan, the Juden sind unser Unglück, the Jews are our misfortune, was coined largely as a response to Heinrich Gretz's somewhat sanitized version of Jewish history. But nevertheless, a very strong working model. For generations, Jews have worked with this kind of model of Jewish history. Shimon Dubno, who was martyred by the Nazis in 1941, his last words to his students as he lay bleeding on a street in Latvia was "Schreib und verschreib," write and record. He offered a chilling last imperative to historians to say we must record the data of Jewish history. And even in that particular phrase, you hear the difference, because Shimon Dubno is much more of a social historian who likes to take a more realistic approach to the spectrum of Jewish realities, to the fact that there are nebuch Jewish criminals, that there are, heterodox movements, that there are all kinds of things which we might not necessarily be proud of, but nevertheless, that is part of the grand story of Jewish history. His approach to Jewish history was extremely influential, in particular in the evolution of the so-called Federation movement here in America, because he was the architect of this idea of a Jewish community without necessarily being bound by religious affiliation. And finally, closer to our own times, was the incredible Salo Baran, who criticized both Dubno and Gretz, in particular Gretz, because he said that it wasn't really a heroic type of Judaism he was describing, Jewish history. He was describing a lachrymose Jewish history. In other words, full of tears. That the version of Judaism that Salo Baran criticized was this version in which everything was, completely run through the washer, and that everything came out such that the Jews were always unjustly persecuted and heroically triumphant. So his was a much more sophisticated, universally based kind of curriculum, and almost totally unreadable to lay people. His 18-volume history of the Jews, social and economic history of the Jews, it's a phenomenal book. Social and religious history is phenomenal. It takes up about this much real estate on my shelf at the office. But you really have to be an expert in Jewish history to decipher it. So he's the least kind of accessible historians. So we're going to try and work through these kinds of models as we understand our own approach to Jewish history, which I hope I'll be able to make clear for you towards the end. We're almost done now with the theory part before we get to the actual history. I have to dip a little bit into philosophy here as well, and I promise this will not take more than a couple of minutes. History is very much related, believe it or not, to a philosophical subdiscipline called epistemology. Epistemology comes from the Greek word episteme, which means to know. It's the science of knowing. And as you can see from Lester Grabb's classic work, Ancient Israel, the subtitle of his book is, What Do We Know? And How Do We Know It? In reality, one could say that what we know is actually intimately related to how we know it. So, for example, if you were to look at ancient Jewish history in particular, which is our topic for today, and you were to say, I am only going to look at it through the lens of the Bible, then you would find a lot of difficulty with the archaeological record, and vice versa. If you try to be totally archaeological about Israeli history, ancient Israel history, you would find the Bible in some places unintelligible. And this brings us to the concept of biblical archaeology, which defines two different basic positions on either end of a spectrum. There are a group of people who call themselves maximalists. This is really the term that was used most at the beginning of the 20th century as biblical archaeology really got into its heyday. Maximalist means we're going to use the Tanakh as a map for understanding ancient Israeli history and its archaeology. And that's great because we've got this fantastic document which is unparalleled in its size and scope of description of really times that happened a long time ago. And all we have to do is kind of like go through the land of Israel, identify places, dig up the soil there, and we'll find evidence of what happened. Unfortunately, when archaeologists really started digging, they found all kinds of inconsistencies, which I'm going to explore in a couple of seconds. The other later school of archaeologists says, wait a second, we're going at this all wrong. We have to just put aside the Bible and pretend it doesn't exist. We're going to ignore all of the historical data in the Bible and just work with what's in the ground. And with what's in the ground, we will reconstruct an ancient Israeli history, which may, and it turns out, is rather distinct and different from the biblical account. That presents some theological challenges, to be sure, and we're going to look at a couple of them, but only in a little bit of detail. In a way, it's a little bit like creating a puzzle, right? You see here, you've got someone working on a puzzle, and you say, well, this is a really hard puzzle with so many thousands of pieces, and they're all mixed up, but Baruch Hashem, I have the cover here, right? I have the box that tells me all I got to do is follow the box. It's starting.
How are you?
Really easy. So
what up, G?
In the Bible, it's not great. You know what's supposed to happen there?
What's good? What are you up to? Like it's going out of style, son? Yo, dog, what's new? You just woke up? Been up all night, just working on the server, working on robots, slanging dick like it's going out of style. It depends. Probably like 8. How about you? What's on your agenda for today? That's tight.
There's a place to share the joy of your tea when you know, and a place to share a laugh about skiing and taking a fall. There's a place to share photos of pets or singing in the choir. The time you made a pepper.
What am I doing? Making shit every single day is cool. 76% making videos every day. Shit. All right, I'm done with that. I'm sorry. I have to now. Wait, what's the effect of a break, right? Like when you take a break, what it makes you feel? Like what? Bro, the motherfucker took a lot, bro. What the fuck? This was the OG New York face house. He said in New York, bro. I'm not even trolling, bro.
Join me as I talk through cases with special guests and true crime experts.
There's got to be something at the heart of that evidence that they.
Tune in as agencies face up the time in the true of the man style.
3-day stream time? Goddamn. What the hell? EB has like someone on his stream too. Why does everyone just have like someone on their stream?
Listen on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and listen now.
They're all doing something program. Oh, not the crack guy, Billy. This guy is he's playing.
Thanks for inviting me into your home, your long haul truck, RV, camper, taxi,
TAQ Plus,
well-appointed basement,
oiled up.
paneling, electric fireplace,
LGBTAQ Plus and oiled up.
your loft, that greasy spoon just off the interstate.
You guys, Canadian, you want to say fucking in this head DVR?
Welcome to Coast AM, the very best hit night talk radio. I'm Richard Serra, sitting in for George Floyd. And tonight, this morning, I am coming to you live from the home studio in Old Thornhill, just north of Toronto. Coming up in hours 1 and 2. Prepare to shatter.
You get the tattoo removed and he's a reformed man. He needs a reformed man. So, you know what? I like it.
Secret teacher of the occult.
And I think I have VIP energy. Do I still? Oh my god, I do have VIP energy in this shit.
Through his electrifying lyrics, poetry, and life, drawing from Morrison's intimate writings, recollections from
There is no activity.
like the late Doors.
You know what I'm saying? Fucking Rabbi Rothschild, fucking video or something. So I just fucking banned him. Wait, what? No way! Rabbi Rothschild joined my Discord and he was videoing something? Why didn't you tell me? I wanted to fucking see that. I wanted to see what was he videoing? What the fuck, bro? Yeah, that's some self-watching. Yo, join that, yo. And now Michael Jackson's here. I just got a follow from Michael Jackson. How'd you get the name Michael Jackson? Is that... What the fuck's going on? Dude, it's time to end, bro. Do whatever's going on. I don't like it. I don't like it. Michael Jackson's crazy. Michael Jackson's crazy. How'd you even get it? Like,
That's fucking nuts, dude. Yo, have you seen the one I know? It's freaking Avril Lavigne, and she's got a sexy picture.
This isn't just rock history. It's a mind-bending revelation of Morrison as a persecuted.
What the fuck?
Well,
how do you spell Avril? Avril remember that phone. Yeah. But like the OG, like he's got the actual like name. No, did they get banned? Where is it?
A ghostly shadow slipped through the darkness, or a wet rope lit up the sky in eerie silence, or reality itself.
Maybe they got banned. Michael Jackson? What if that's Rabbi? Okay, so we go to DVR. Let's go to DVR. Spam this chat a little bit of time. Yo, George, I'm sure you know it. Make me look a little good. Love you guys. Stay safe. Join the Discord. I might join the Discord for a little bit. Try to stay off your boxes. I'm so used to running Who's Canadian, I'm just rolling like automatic. Love you guys. Stay safe. Say hi to DVR. The reform plan. I'm hitting it. You don't want me to say nigga? I'm afraid from you, the nigga. Bro, this guy's hacking. He's hacking. Yo! We got 2 raids at the same time?
August 15th, 1969. Hundreds of thousands of young dreamers were caravanning to Max Yasker's dairy farm in Bethel, New York, 60 miles southwest of Woodstock, for the legendary 3-day Woodstock Arts and Music Festival. So today was day 1 of this cultural earthquake, blending music, art, and free spirits. And so as we dive into America's weirdest roadside attractions in the second half of tonight's program, let's try and channel some of that same adventurous energy. But first, unveiling Jim Morrison's mystical secrets. Welcome to the audio of Imaginarium. Come on in, weary traveler, take your cloak on a peg, grab a stool, and come warm yourself by the fire. There are stories to be told, and you are among friends. I'm Richard Serrett, sitting in for George Dory, and this is Coast to Coast AM. Why don't you stay a while?
Love your postcard. I'll have to send it to you from Darwin, Miss Price. Rabina's black currant. You ever drink Rabina? Rabina, yeah. Okay. Mark's got it out. Shit. I like
U.S. Space Restoration Specialist will help.
the black currant flavor. Especially like their taste. I think they're called
Money back. Plus, all LifeLock plans are backed by the $1 million protection package. Meaning LifeLock will reimburse you up to the limits of your plan if you lose money due to identity theft. Might not be able to control how others handle your personal information, but you can help protect it with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code George. Call 1-800-LifeLock or go to lifelock.com. Use promo code George for 40% off. Is the continued divide between the president and the Federal Reserve putting us behind the curve again? Can the Fed take the right action at the right time, or are we going to be looking at a potential economic slowdown? And what does this mean for your savings? Consider diversifying with gold from the Birch Gold Group. For decades, gold has been viewed as a safe haven in times of economic stagnation, global uncertainty, and high inflation. And Birch makes it incredibly easy for you to diversify some of your savings into gold. If you have an IRA or old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or just buy some gold and keep it yourself. First, get educated. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. Just text the word COAST to the number 989898. Again, text COAST to 989898. Consider diversifying a portion of your savings into gold. That way, if the Fed can't stay ahead of the curve for the country, at least you can stay ahead.
All wild
singer-songwriter, artist, poet, and visionary author whose electrifying work pulses with the raw energy of cultural rebellion, historical depth, and mystical exploration. With a liberal arts degree in history, Wild weaves a spellbinding tapestry.
Yeah, Mike bought him both. He bought him in both. Got him for 10. Michael Jackson, what a name. How the hell did you get that name, dude? No one took that name? You're the first person on Kick? What the fuck? How did you get that name, dude? Guys, we've made it. Michael Jackson has joined the Kick stream. Join the Discord? Did you see the postcard? Is Mark driving in the middle of the road to help avoid, like, livestock and roads? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have a bull bar. You saw Tiger Woods in chat the other day? When you're free, you know this thing. Yep. Another burnt car? That car is fucking robbed. Take care of pizza. I don't know. I was able to. I want to my name when I type on I'll just put like I'll post this in here. This is you guys are just joining in. You want to see what the rig looks like and how our Starlink set up. Like on Twitch, I can do the real Shook on 3 and my caps. I can't figure out how to do the caps on Kick. I have to look again. Where do I view the postcard? It's in the general set, like just the Mod City. I think it's just called Mod City. Senior Google, thanks for joining the green room. Friend, thanks for joining the Kick Stream. Thanks for joining the green room. Thank you so much.
There, I was just going to look for it. Other archaeologists didn't know. If we ignore it, then all of a sudden we're going to find that there are a whole bunch of pieces that just don't seem to make sense. We found this in the ground. It doesn't look like it should be here. It's not shaped right at all. And that's fundamentally the crux of the problem of biblical archaeology. Do you know history because you know Tanakh? Or do you know history because you know archaeology? And whichever way you work with the data, you're going to have to deal with the other side of the equation. Okay, so, wow, I'm going so fast, I can't believe we made it through one circle in 20 minutes. But Rabbi Trump spoke for about 2 minutes, so I'll take that out of the end. All right, let us first begin with what's called la longue durée. This is a term that was created by the French Annales School of Historiography that says that, hey, if we really want to look at history properly, you have to look at larger factors than the immediate people involved. You have to look at things like topology, weather patterns, the economics that are shaped by the land itself. So let's have a look at the longue durée issues going on in Israel. This is a map of what's called the Fertile Crescent. And as you can see, it's shaped, of course, kind of like an upside or sideways C. That, of course, is the Fertile Crescent. And it describes the area of fertility in the ancient Near East, which is the basis of civilization. Using basic Marxist theory, you have to have concentration of capital in order to create culture. And so culture tended to develop along the river Nile over here, close to the Mediterranean coast, and then down the two rivers, Euphrates and Tigris, which together descend into the Persian Gulf. With the controlling of these rivers and the fertility in the neighboring region, you could actually develop a culture. Everywhere else, you've got desert. So this is really where ancient civilization develops as a result of this fertility. Looking at the economic roots are directly related to that fertility. There are two roads that we're especially concerned with. This is Israel, of course, over here. The Via Maris, or the Derech Hayam, which is a trade route that goes along the coast that essentially connects the Nile to the Euphrates and Tigris, and also the King's Highway, also known as Derech Hamela, which skirts the outside of the mountain range in the Judean desert. These two roads make Judea and Israel incredibly important because we've got to go through there to get to anything meaningful. It's a lot like the Rockaway Turnpike. If you could see these roads on Friday afternoon coming down from Damascus, it's crazy. You have to leave like so far back. Okay, here's a map looking at the topology and looking at the various heights. You can see the green here is lowland, and it's green, of course, it gives us the essential fecundity, which is, of course, what happens there. And the red parts are the mountain ranges. It means that the land of Israel, that's going to focus our attention for this lecture, is really a very small area of productivity here with a desert, a vertical desert. It is not like Kansas. It's not Chernobyl and the black earth of Ukraine. It's a very tiny little spot. The only major advantage it has today economically is that it's on these two trade routes, the Derech Hayam and the Derech Hamela. Here, looking at it sideways, you can see I've translated this. This is the Dead Sea over here, the Mediterranean. It's a tiny little barrier here, and because of the prevailing winds, the moisture that moves in with the winds from the Mediterranean gets trapped by the mountains and remains here in the coastal plain. The mountains are comparatively dry, and of course, once you go past the border, it's very dry in the country of Jordan. This map also shows you can see the security gifts of Israel are phenomenal. It's only 15 kilometers from the edge of the green line, what would be today called Shomron, or the other part of the West Bank, to the sea. And even from the Jordan River, in the country of Jordan, it's 55 kilometers. It's basically a good walk from one end of the waste of the country to the other. But we will get to that later to modern times. Now, one of the slogans that was used in the Zionist period of the 1880s was this idea that Israel was a people without a land for a land without a people. It's not entirely true. Israel was, of course, settled before the first Jews lived there. It's described that way in the Bible. There's no contradiction there. And there's some amazing archaeological signs of pre-Israelite civilizations. These Canaanites, for example, this is in the region of Jericho, seem to have a quite a sophisticated culture that apparently involved a very deep ritual life. It's not certain whether these are intended as decorative now, or perhaps the holes that are drilled in the sides are indicating that they should have been worn as masks, perhaps in theatrical productions of one type or another. The figure on the right is evocative of a skull that apparently would have played some role in their ritual functions. But as you can see, they had quite a bit of activity. There's a lot we know about the Canaanite peoples as a result of these archaeological digs. We also know, for example, that amazingly, they practiced trephination, which is a bizarre medical technique that we find in several ancient civilizations, including the Incas, for example, to deal with mental illness and various other illnesses, particularly of the skull, by drilling a hole in the skull to allow the evil spirits to escape and things like that. Some theorists believe that they may have dealt with schizophrenia and other types of illnesses by drilling holes in the skull. I believe this is where my grandmother, Allah Shalom, used to get the expression, you need it like you need a hole in the head. But it's amazing people actually survive trephination. You can tell by the way that the wounds heal that apparently people did live through this experience. So basically, according to the biblical account that we have, the origins of the Jewish people are in the Mesopotamian region. That's the southern part of where the Tigris and Euphrates flow into the Persian Gulf. Abraham is commanded to leave the land of Ur. He does not take a direct route because, of course, that would mean going right across the desert. He takes a roundabout route right along the Fertile Crescent and lands in Israel. There, as you know, we'll be reading about it in just a few months, they end up in Egypt, and then there's an amazing thing where God takes a nation from the midst of another nation, and this is the Exodus, which is a tremendous marker of Jewish identity and a defining moment of the Jewish people where they return to Israel. And it is at that point that they settle on the land of Israel. All three of these points are not well confirmed by the archaeological record. And in fact, some historians would say they're contradicted by the archaeological record because, for example, if there is no evidence found of the Exodus, which is a rather large, amazing event, some historians would say, well, that means it didn't happen. Other historians would say you have to just keep looking. Maybe you'll find something if you keep looking, and other things like, how do you prove a negative? But this is the kind of area where it's so central to our identity. I know it on a very profound personal level that my ancestors left Egypt. I know it every Pesach in particular. I'm remembering it, and it is something that is part of my bones, part of my personal DNA. The fact that we can't find archaeological data to support it yet doesn't really challenge it. It's kind of like if I went to the doctor and I asked him, let's say I'm having trouble, I'm lovesick, I love my wife so much, could you please have a look at my love for my wife and tell me what to do about it, doctor? What is he going to do, put it in a CAT scan? He's not going to find that kind of data. So this will take us further into hashkafic territory. I will leave that to the hashkafic experts like Rabbi Trump, but for the time being, it gets a little bit easier now. Wow, I'm going so fast. This is some fascinating new information, however. One of the associations with the Jewish settlement of Israel is the so-called four-roomed house, which has been found all over Israel, and particularly because in many of the settlements of these four-roomed houses, there are an absence of pig bones. And so there's a lot of historians who would point to this fact, so you can see that the Jews are obviously living in these four-roomed houses because their dietary refuse shows it. This is not convinced to all historians, but recently, and this is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, I just heard this from some colleagues at Hebrew University, new archaeological findings have suggested that perhaps there are in fact some signs of
but those are saying because it becomes a show.
Discovering a lot of these containers.
This is crazy. All right. So tonight, this comes out this Thursday. Well, you guys missed me at the stand. But tomorrow, I'm going to be at Room 808 in DC. Room 808 in DC is a small little club that it will sell out, so you got to get your tickets if you want to come see it. Let's go.
That's where Amuna is a very
go to
of the light that shines from far.
What's up, guys? I'm giving away the ultimate
archaeological record does say some amazing things. For example, this is the Merneptah stele, which is a find that dates back to the 13th century before the Common Era. It is a kind of a post obelisk, very common in the period in which various rulers, in this case it was the pharaoh Merneptah, boasts about his many, many military achievements. And the whole thing is a long list of the various peoples that he has conquered and laid waste to and so on. And on this Merneptah stele, we have the very first reference in non-Jewish archaeological material to Israel. And it reads, Israel is wasted, its seed is no more. I mean, it's just like the very first thing has to be anti-Semitic. Can you believe it? I mean, but that is the first statement we have outside of Jewish sources that talk about Israel. Now, what exactly does this phrase mean? Most historians take it kind of at face value, that there is an entity called Israel. We don't know much about what it means. Is it an area? Is it a people? What exactly is it? Wasted seems to imply a rather physical destruction, that it's over with them. And seed, even if we take seed literally to say they have no more grain, it seems to mean figuratively that they will have no more progeny. That's it for the Jewish people. 13th century, before the Common Era, you're done with the Jewish people. We have destroyed them once and for all. I'd just like to point out something, this little observation. Well, Merneptah says Israel's wasted, its seed is no more. This is what Israel's seed looks like. Right? It looks like this. And by the way, with the stele, we also found Merneptah. This is what he looks like. Right? So, I'm just saying, right? This is Israel's seed, and this is Merneptah. So we know how to file this particular piece of historical information, but nevertheless, it does say a lot about the vestigial trend of Jewish history. Now, going through the Tanakh, you get a tremendous amount of history with phenomenal details about various leaders and rulers, and sometimes secondary, tertiary characters. Phenomenal lessons contained therein on a moral level, a spiritual level, and so on. And if we had more time, I would love to delve into those in greater detail. But some of the most, our goal today is to try and focus on the history. So one of the trends of Tanakh in the first three books after the Chumash, it describes the eventual formation of a united monarchy that is one kingdom under Saul, and then under David, under Solomon. We do not have much archaeological evidence of specific things happening in there, but there are a few fascinating tidbits. So, for example, this is a Tel Dan stele, which was discovered in the north of Israel. It is about 100 years after the death of King David, so it isn't actually contemporaneous with his life. But in the stele itself, you find this phrase, which is written in the Paleo-Hebrew, the original, a different version, a different script of Hebrew that was used at the time. And, of course, Hebrew is written from right to left. So it says, in these letters here, B-Y-T, D-W-D, which is understood by most scholars to mean Beit David, the house of David. So here is some archaeological evidence that specifically speaks about a house of David, which will be reinforced by other pieces in a moment. But there are still questions. Like, for example, in this stele, they use a little period like this to separate words. And there is no separation between Beit David, even though grammatically that is required. That's not necessarily a disqualification. Latin, for example, is written without such word separations. Polish is written almost entirely without vowels, for example. That was a joke. I thought you would like that. But anyway, this is the kind of evidence that we have outside of the record of the literature of Tanakh. And this other document here, this other stele, the Mesha stele, from about the same period of time, 850 before the Common Era. The reason why it looks so strange is because there's a whole fascinating story behind it. It was found in Jordan, and in the 19th century, some German explorers found it and made efforts to secure it. But the local villagers felt that there was something wrong with these German explorers taking away their archaeological finds. For centuries, it lay exposed in the desert, and everyone was paying it no mind. But once the Germans wanted it, people started getting a lot of interest in it. What they did was they prepared to make a squeak piece, which is a paper mache application to the stone, which is then later peeled off so you can get a a reversed image of it, kind of like a wax model of it. However, the assistant who was making the squeeze was attacked by the local villagers who were upset that the stele was being taken away. He managed to rip it off, but it was partially damaged. And then the villagers, either because, according to one version of the story, they felt that the reason the Germans wanted it was because there was gold inside it, or according to another version, they felt that there were like spirits inside it, like a genie kind of thing. They smashed the stele to bits, and most of it was lost. The squeeze that the assistant was making, and just barely managed to take away with his life, was also damaged. But between the two pieces, they were able to reconstruct quite a bit of it, and you can see there are two references here to this same phrase, House of David, bait, and then there's something illegible, WD, and there's something else that looks like W, and then a A at the end. Scholars believe these are other references to Beit David. There's another school of thought that says that this BT star WD is actually the origins of a popular lubricant, WD-40. That is something I'm trying to publish in the literature. It's just not working yet. Okay. But anyways, you can see that there are little tiny bits and pieces, like trying to put together the puzzle. You can get very little from the archaeological record, but it is fascinating. And perhaps if we have more leisure in another series, we'll have time to go over these in greater detail if it deserves. The dual monarchy, of course, you're familiar with Tanakh, that eventually falls apart. Israel and Judah are split. The northern section is attacked by the Assyrians, and a good portion of the population is carried away to the region of Babylon. Again, following La Longue Durée, following the Fertile Crescent, the various settled areas. These things are described primarily in Kings and Chronicles, and we have much more detail in the archaeological record to support this.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
Various peoples who are conquering Israel. Also
Okay.
that attempt to describe the obedience of Jehu, one of the Jewish kings. There's a whole bunch of Assyrians up here. Shalmaneser, of course. And here's Jehu here, in an act of obedience that we can understand perfectly well.
Altercations are fairly regular. Like at airports, you see brawls at airports all the time. What is it? They don't want you flying. No. You think I'm crazy? You think I'm crazy? I'm dead serious. There's like an Agenda 2050, and literally in there it lists no more commercial flights. And you see them at all WEFs.
Welcome. How are you?
That's literally the plan. For real? But you think that can't be responsible for brawls at the Spirit Airlines? Yeah, I mean, dude, they send in all these people all the time. I mean, it's crazy to me. But like, they're always right. But a lot of that happened because all these military planes are almost hitting commercial planes. I'm telling you, dude. If you watch you in a 15-minute scene, why do they want you flying around? Okay. I see what you're saying about the 15-minute scene, and I think that's true. But I don't think it's this grand plan to make planes slam into each other. I think it's a lot of it's incompetence. Whatever happens to the shot black on DC, that was a weird one. That was a weird one. Because apparently that lady was instructed to not go in the direction that she was going. Right. What was the specifics of it? Well, they looked the wrong way. Like, they don't hate this. They looked this way and it was coming that way, or they looked that way and it was coming this way. They looked the wrong way when they just tried to see what was coming. Was she part of the Biden administration at one point in time and then left and went back and forth? Probably, dude. It's so hard to know. You see stuff online. But if you even study like the Vegas shooting, or I mean the LA fires, they want you to blame DEI. Like, do you remember when that one fire chief or whatever was like, "Oh, if I come get you and you're too big, you're in the wrong place, wrong time." Yeah. Why would you say that? Why would you? It's hubris. I don't know someone who gets into listen. You got an all-lesbian crew, right? You got a woman who's the first head of the fire department, right? Woman, and this lady's a woman, and they're talking about how great it is if someone who looks like you comes to save you and help you. So they're wrapped up in that kooky ideology. The absence of meritocracy and the absence of like
And what's really
physical
special
standards
about
for difficult
Thunder's
physical
is that
jobs. To pretend that that's not necessary. You should be able to take throwing a guy out.
across these
The
many,
guys that I
different
knew that were
territories
all
with different
firefighters,
languages,
the
different legal
guys
systems,
I've known,
different
one of my
countries,
buddies
and
is a
so on.
firefighter,
And he
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. The other one is a fucking big giant Irish guy.
all of these
Like
laws.
they were always big people, right? Because you got to be able to carry folks. I agree, and you got to be able to do like crazy physical things. You have to axe down doors sometimes. You know, it's right. But that's usually a 100-pound woman told to axe down a door. Okay, so I agree with what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, what causes more chaos, what causes more infighting, is if you push everybody to this is DEI messing up, and not that this whole thing is purposeful. So you're thinking that they're instituting DEI on purpose, they're putting incompetent people in positions of power on purpose so that they'll fuck up, so that people will complain, or so that it creates more chaos. Yes. So, I mean, I don't know if the narrative usually began is that bullshit people. I don't know. I mean, lizard people, I don't know if they're lizard. Well, they probably are lizard people, but I mean, when Karen Bass, here's the crazy thing about LA. Very few people are calling out anything anymore. It's a city of conformity, and nobody wants to rock the boat because to get a job in LA, you need to have 20 green lights. All you gotta catch is one red light, and you're not working. So if you're out there going, hey, dude, this is like, hey, man, what's going on with this? This seems pretty purposeful. You're not gonna work. You're just not gonna work. You can get mugged at a gas station pumping $7 a gallon gas, and still never complain about what's going on and still vote the same way because you don't want to rock the boat. If you ask me, it's a big part of moving everybody into these big cities is a forced conformity. I don't think it's like that everywhere, though. LA is particularly like that because of it's a city of conformity already because of Hollywood. Yeah, because you're auditioning for things. 100% auditioning for things is great because it's really the only way to find out if someone's really good at acting. Give a chance, right? But the way it's set up is like people choose people, and if they choose you, you go on to have this incredible life. You become Brad Pitt, right? But if they don't choose you, you become that guy that everybody sees at the party that's 45, dyeing his hair dark, and it's not happening, and everyone knows it's not happening, and maybe he's got talent. It's weird, so you have to conform. Yes, you have to say what they want you to say, whether it's about whatever political issue, socialization, climate change, whatever it is. You can't have any opinions. I totally 100% agree. That's kind of why nobody's saying anything. It's a culture. It's a part of the culture, but I don't really think it has something to do with the original way that LA was founded. Before the whole reality star thing and everything else, but there's definitely a lot of that going on. But it was all acting. Everybody wanted to go to the act. So it was like the primary way that someone would get a gig was an audition. There's a term. It's a communist term. It's like cornifism. I'm butchering how I went. That will be a dope sweatshirt. I need one of those. You got one? I got you. Alders running template. Alders. Oh, no shit. Shout out to Alders. Here you are. Bro, I need one of those though. I need the one-time walk out. Oh, dude, I'll get you one. Is that anything? No, that's why you want this one? Okay, later. No, give it to you now because it's hot here. Sorry, you guys. Here you go. Never watched this. Never watched it. Yours. That worked out perfect. I'm going to smell like a pig the whole time. Anything we tag them down with. That's why Van Nuys are just getting murked by Mexicans the whole time. So they took the V in the end. Yeah, made it just like, okay. It's a great school, dude. I'm trying to get a blue belt. I'm just old and fat. It's hard. Bro, I'm not older for fucking more than 20 years. He's great. I love him.
1020 Van Nuys.
Yeah, he's great.
West Side.
I just got to do old man jiu-jitsu where I got to do wrist locks and shit like that because I can't move these fat legs. I got fat old legs. I came to him and I'm taking on 3 1 and need 1 loan replacement. They're like, I want you so bad. We'll get you set up. I got bad hip too, dude. That's why I got worked out. Yeah, what's wrong with him? It's just the wheels are a little off. Did you get it looked at? No, I got to do that. Okay, I'm gonna run it nuts. All right, well, before you do all this other stuff like jujitsu and you have an injury, you should make sure that you're not making that injury. Probably making it worse. Yeah, it's kind of important. But I love it. No, I like pain. I'm glad you like it. But just listen to daddy. Because I've been down this fucking surgery road many times with jiu-jitsu. And I've had 2 knee surgeries because of jiu-jitsu. You have to make sure, and I have a bunch of back issues, you have to make sure that it's not like a labor tear or something like that where you're continuing to tear it and make it worse. Yeah, because you need that fixed. Yeah, if you get it fixed, you'll be way better off. Yeah, I gotta get it fixed. MMA fighters do it all the time, like Sean. Before his fight with Rob, he tore his labrum, the first fight, and he was going to get a surgery, but he realized he couldn't. There was no way he was going to. He wanted to make that Sphere show because they're doing it at the Sphere. It's like, fuck it, I guess I'll meet that guy. He's an animal. Yeah, he's savage. But he needed to get it fixed, and then he finally got it fixed. He's like, dude, I feel fucking infinitely better. You have to fix it. If it's a labrum tear or something like that, you just don't want to ruin it. You don't want to get it so you need hip replacement, which I know I'm a gang of guys who have hip replacements. Okay? Yeah, I mean, I can't believe how many people I know that have hip replacements. I went home for I brought the kids back to the homeland, and all my family was like, I got this fixed, I got this fixed, I got that fixed. The hip one's nuts, man, because I know guys that are 40 that have hip replacements. Like, not just one. You know? I think Connor, Jeremy, he got his hips done. Yeah. You know, I know, like, a bunch of MMA fighters get their hips done. John Wayne Parr, Muay Thai guy, he had his hips done. At least one hip. It's rough, man. They saw the top of your bone off and put a fucking cap on it, and a different socket and screwed on there, and then it's good for about 20 years.
I think I messed up some joints during my run into good days. Not drinking enough water. I think
I probably got injured a bunch of times, didn't notice it, just kept going. Yeah, like a champ. The thing about those hips, though, is what they can do now, like before in the past, if you had a chronically inflamed hip and arthritis, you're missing calcium or missing meniscus or whatever the cartilage labrum tears your hips, you're crippled for life. Now they just give you an artificial one and they say, well, it probably lasts about 20 years. Yeah, well, at least for 20 years, you can, like everyone I know that has one walks normal. Yeah, it doesn't hurt badly. You don't. You want to fix your hip. Yeah, I know. That's what I want. I want to fix my hip. I'm going to do it when I go back. No, we'll get it looked at while you're here. Really? How many days a year? I'm here. I'm leaving tomorrow. What time tomorrow? Like 7. They put me at 7 a.m. Yeah. I'll fly right back, and we might be able to get you in this afternoon. Get my hip looked. I'll fly right back. Someone should look at it. But what you really need is an MRI. Because they need to find out exactly what's going on. So I'm paying $1 gazillion in health insurance. I better get looked at. Bro, that doesn't get you nothing these days. Nothing. It's unbelievable. Do you know what happened to Ben Askren? Oh yeah, dude, that's so tragic and sad and just disgusting. They should be like, if they don't cover it, they should send all your money back. How crazy is that? He had health insurance. He got a terrible infection in his lungs that led to, I think it's called necrotic pneumonia. He had to give a double lung transplant, and health insurance is, we're not covering it. How's that possible? That is an obvious catastrophic illness that just hit the guy, right? Like this is not, it's not like a chronic smoker. There's no terrible thing that he did. He just got sick. Yeah. And isn't that what health insurance is for? And 100%. I want to know what grounds can you deny something like that? That seems to be like a break in the narrative. Like something like that. You can't say, oh, this person's responsible for that. They did something they weren't supposed to do because of their insurance. Like, this guy just got sick. Yeah, 100%. And that's what that Luigi thing was about. That company was using AI to determine whether you should be covered or not. Right. And AI doesn't have any emotion or you can't look at it going, well, maybe we should cover this. It's very analytical about it. And that's why I guess he was having problems with his back and just got pissed off. And that's what happens, man. And that whole thing was weird. Yeah, he had a screw loose too. His friends were saying. It was like he had a break, like something went wrong in his life. That might be connected to the surgery, by the way. You know, if all of a sudden you get discs fused in your back and you're in constant pain, that can completely change the way you interface with the world. You know, Michael Bisping had his neck fixed. It didn't go well, he had to get it done again. Oh, so much pain, brutal. He couldn't do anything. He could only basically lie in bed and then go do his UFC duties and then go back and lie in bed. Just motherfuckers in agony and keeping it together. I say keeping it together, but some people don't keep it together when they're in pain all the time, man. Well, you know, a lot of people think once you get to the hospital, you're safe, right? That's where the safe place is. You know, medical malpractice is one of the leading causes of death out there. And it's, you know, nothing's an exact science, but yeah, they can mess up. My grandmother on my father's side just went in to get a back change, and she never left the hospital. She passed away.
On a theological level, have rejected what would later become the oral Torah, known as the oral Torah. I'll speak more about that next week. They are essentially
one bad kidney and one good kidney, and they took out her bad kidney, or they took out a good kidney and left her bad kidney.
Go along to get along, seek their own personal advantage in association with the Romans, and they tend to be in charge of the temple. They are in charge of the urban elite
denial
and
of
large
insurance claims and stuff like that. It's like the medical miracle is they did give him a double lung transplant, Ben Askren,
we would call them in Hebrew
and he's trying to build himself
the
back up. And go fund me it, which is absolutely ridiculous that we live in America and you have to have your friends and fans support you to have this like life-saving surgery. To the big Jake Paul. Yeah, the big Jake Paul gave him like $500,000. But it's really kind of crazy that insurance is allowed to not cover something like that. Did they have a response? Is there a response for why they didn't cover that?
The Tzdukim are highly corrupt.
It seems insane. I mean, unless there's some legal loophole, how could you not cover someone who just gets some crazy illness like that? You know, when Obama was, I knew Obama was like, not the guy I thought it was. Obama's first term was the last time I voted for either Republican or Democrat. That was the last time. So, you know, everybody wanted change. I get into how they basically rigged that thing for him. You know, because America, after George Bush and Dick Cheney, ate old white neocons. And then who did they have run against the slick, good-looking young black guy who nobody knew was a Bush at the time? Or they have John McCain, who is the poster child or the mascot for the white neocons, right? So they basically run everybody to Obama, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna have change. And he was running on like everyone getting health care and all that stuff. And then so they're having this giant debate in Washington about universal health coverage. And this dude gets on a plane and runs to Germany to give speeches and stuff like that during the debate on his major campaign, issue. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is just a giant setup. It's all BS. And I've never voted for another. We didn't explain that. So he went to Germany to do what? Give speeches. He was going to go give speeches to German diplomats and politicians and all that stuff while we are debating his campaign promise. And I'm like, why aren't you here fighting for what you said you want to get us? Now you're out of the country and not even part of the debate. Is it possible they set those debates up at the same time where they knew that he was going to be out of the country? Yeah, but if you run a campaign and they're like, it's in the heat of the debate, when you're like, I can't go right now, I think it's possible that was a plan. That they didn't want him there to defend it, and it would be easier to shoot it down. Yeah, of course. On purpose. Yes, on purpose. And when I think they scheduled those meetings at a time where they knew that they were going to be doing the debate, so I could get out of him having to defend not having the campaign process. That's my whole opinion. Well, there's got to be some 3D chess going on, right? I know all of it isn't, but there's some really smart people that are involved in the government, obviously. So they've got to be thinking, like, this is the way we can handle this. Like, there's probably a bunch of nerds in a room, and they're brainstorming, and someone says, listen, here's how we get out of it. Yeah, we send them to Germany, he's not even here. We say there actually are no files. Yeah, we say there's no video, even though we said there's 10,000 hours of video. Actually, it's not true. Those people should not have spoken. We can't find it. We don't know where it is. There's no list.
And I love how, like, when they shoot her just eating a salad, and she's perfectly shot. You can hear everything she's saying. She's not, dude, my whole thing goes, everything is, who's eating the salad? Pam Bondi. Oh, she was eating the salad. Yeah, when Veritas or James O'Keefe puts out that video. What is the video? The video is her talking about how there's like tens of thousands of videos of murdering children. So that video is like, so that video is like one of those Veritas type. Yes, yeah, O'Keefe. Okay, he's also the one who put out Karen Bassett's phone call about her talking. Have you ever heard it? The super creepy. Bro, that guy gets everything. He gets everything. Usually chatty gay guys. Yeah. Oh, dude. And all they do is listen, send in some ass, and they'll give away all the secrets.
So I didn't know that that was how that. I only read that she said there was tens of thousands.
No, she talks about it. Oh, interesting.
Covertly recorded April 28th, revealing previously undisclosed information about Epstein regarding tens of thousands of videos of little kids to a complete stranger in a DC restaurant. Okay, well, let's hear what it says. I want to hear how she says it.
It's easy to find because it cuts to her in a cafe. You'll find it right there. Just kind of jump. Oh, there it is. That's her talking right there.
Taking advantage of
We hope soon arrange a nice one. Okay. So any dates? No, you know what it is? There are tons of thousands of waiting rooms. Yeah, and it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
In the past, officials have spoken.
Okay. She didn't even say underage girls. She said little kids.
Yeah. And that's a big part. I said this a long time ago, is that they're just trying to set it up so it's like, dude, they're high school chicks, you know, they're hot. In reality, it's like really, and there were statements, I believe, and you can't find it on the internet anymore because, you know, they clean everything up. Of like people talking about like what Bill Clinton was fooling around with. And it wasn't little girls, you know. And I've always said this, you know, it's like Bill Clinton is the Andy Dick of the White House. He just sees holes, he wants to hit them, right? Oh my God. You know, you just can't say that if you don't know it's true, though. I just did. I know he likes to fuck. He was a good looking guy when he was young, super charismatic. Loved them ladies, which is. Listen, that's Kennedy. It's classic presidents. It's just we found out about bisexual Kennedy, bisexual George. Yeah, bisexual. Kennedy was bisexual. George Bush Sr. was. Where are you getting? Hold the fuck up, Tom. I do deep dives in all this shit. And Joe, I'm telling you, where are you diving, dude? I'm telling you, the Finders. You remember the Finders?
JFK bisexual. A viral tweet is reigniting speculation.
And he's like, yeah, I mean, they're just horny. Dude, he was on speed.
By his
He's forgotten her queer history.
Massive body of oral
They're just horny ass people. Woodrow Wilson, they believe they blackmailed him through being gay. I mean, Obama stuff coming out right now. Bill Clinton.
So let's think about that, right? We know that, like, the Spartans were gay, right? We know that they had sex with each other. Yeah, it was a big thing. Yeah, part of, like, why they would go to battle so well, fighting for their
joke about samurais.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day about how they were all gay. You're going to fight harder if you know that dude got some DSLs, right? You're going to fight way harder. Don't kill Bill. He's the best in the bunker. Yeah, you're fighting for your lovers. Yeah, right?
But it's also like there's a lot of ancient cultures that think of having sex with women just for procreation, but with boys for fun.
That's Afghanistan.
Exactly. And my friends that have been over there, that have served over there, one of my buddies, I don't know if he said this publicly, so maybe I shouldn't say his name. Just the stories they told me, I was like, what? Like, how? Like, he was talking about how he saw this truck driver with his son. Like, oh, that's cool. He takes his son to work with him. And the guy goes, that's not his son. Like, that's his toy. They love Thursdays, dude. Yeah, but it's not just Thursday. It's like they go into the mountains. My friend was telling me that there was this one guy that was, he worked on his bass and he was kind of slow. Like, he was mentally slow. and he had a colostomy bag,
and in Italy.
and
In Egypt, there's
he
actually
heard
a
a
very
bunch of
ancient
noise
Jewish
and saw a bunch of
civilization
dudes in
there
the room, like
that
in one of the
dates
storage
back
rooms.
before the
These guys were
Temple. And in
fucking his
Italy, because
colostomy
of the
hole.
tens of thousands of Jewish slaves
This
who were
old,
taken from
mentally
Judea
challenged
to
guy,
join the
and
already
these
existing
dudes were
Jewish
fucking
community
his
there.
colostomy
That's
hole.
probably
He's
the
like,
second
bro,
largest
I
Jewish
just had a
community
guy on
outside
right now. This is
of
gonna get
the
weird,
two
but
major
Dom the
centers. And then
hypnotist
you've got
came on,
smaller
and he was
centers
talking
all
about
along
how
coast of North
he has a
Africa here.
mentor
And
who he
in
also
Spain,
works
where we
with,
have
who was Hillary Clinton's security detail. And they were in Afghanistan. They saw a bunch of kids go in the room and never come out.
In just a couple of months, well, I hope to bring you back some really cool pictures of Jewish civilization there.
That they
And
like 3 in the morning.
here in Greece and in Asia Minor, you've got
This is
smaller
Bajabazi,
communities
right?
here,
Yeah, this is
perhaps
kids
numbering
dancing
in
and shit.
tens
Yeah,
or maybe
that's so sad.
And they were told, like, don't interfere
But that gives us a
with
picture of
the local
Jewish
customs.
mobility and demographic change by the time we get to the second century.
Are you
So,
kids dancing and shit?
what's our main takeaway?
Hillary Clinton's
huge
security
Jewish
detail.
history that we
And
managed
they
to
were in
cover a rather
Afghanistan. They saw
phenomenal
a bunch
60
of
minutes.
kids go in the room and never come out.
We see that if I can, in my humble opinion,
That they
bring
like
it
3 in the
down to
morning.
one basic value. And
This
for my
is
kids locally
Bajabazi,
will
right?
watch
Yeah,
this
this
video
is
someday.
kids dancing and shit.
It's
Yeah,
resilient.
that's so sad.
And they were told,
Jewish
like,
people
don't
are
interfere
awesomely
with the
resilient.
local customs.
We are an amazing people. We have a phenomenal thing to
Are you
contribute
implying
to the
that they
world.
are dead?
And
I'm
our
implying
continued
that he
survival,
never
in my
saw
humble
them come
opinion,
out.
can be
Maybe
nothing
it's
less
been
than
that, but
Maybe there's another
Thank
end
you
of the
very
story.
much.
Give
Yeah.
you let him sleep. We gotta check out. Let him sleep. They'll figure it out.
The creepiest idea about pedophilia is that there's people that know about it and cover it up because they don't want to get in trouble for having known about it. Like, this is a Sandusky thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's
First of all, thank
essentially
you
what
for all
Tank
for
Joe
coming.
Paterno, right? Like,
I never know what's going to
everybody
happen.
really
The first
knew.
one could have been a
And
fluke,
they all
but
let it go because
looks
they were
like a
winning
lot of
football
people found
games.
this
And then Penn
relatively
State's
interesting,
right
so I'm
back
very
into
grateful that
title
you
contention. But
decided
here's
to
the
come
thing,
back
dude.
here a little
Over
more.
time,
We will be
what
speaking
they
about
can
a little
blackmail you with
less
changes.
history
Like way back in
chronologically
the day,
in
if
the
you
same amount of
thought you were
time, so
cheating on
hopefully
your
I'll
wife,
be
they
able
could
to pace
blackmail you with
myself
that.
a little
But
easier.
as culture
I should
grows and
thank,
we start
first of all,
accepting
our
more and more
sponsors,
stuff, it's gotta get weirder and weirder.
Mrs.
You know,
Ruben
back
and
in the,
Andy
remember, I
Bradford,
mean, we're around the
biggest
same age.
supporters of
I mean, remember
scholarship
when we
in
were
general.
debating whether
They've
Boy George was gay or not, and they were like,
graciously donating to the
we were
synagogue
like,
on
we were
behalf
having, there
of
was
the
like a
series,
real
and
discussion on that. He's
we
like, no,
thank them
dude, I
very
pump
much.
puss,
So
dude.
let's
George
pick up where
Michael,
we
yeah,
left off.
100% so beautiful.
Last
There's no way he
week,
could
we
be straight.
ended
His
our
hair was so
discussion
perfect. His
of
voice was so
using the
amazing.
ancient period. And
That
these
guy's gotta be
terms
super
that
good.
I'm
Have you
using,
seen the
ancient,
Minnesota
medieval,
Vikings
modern,
male
and
cheerleader? That
contemporary,
is the
they
shiniest
are
dude
really
I've ever
terms
seen.
used in
Show me
Western
that. Yeah, look at his male
historiography that is
cheerleader.
primarily
She's actually just talking
18th and
about this.
19th
She was
century
talking about this
Christian
in the room the
European
other day. Yeah, he's
historiography.
shiny,
That's the way that time is
He's
divided
so
up. I
shiny.
mentioned yesterday or
Oh my
last week
goodness.
how there's like an ancient period which is this classical Greek and Roman civilization.
Like
Then the Vandals
Twitter,
come in the
just
5th century and they sack it.
he's
This
the
is awesome.
shiniest
It's all
dude
gone. And then it's the
he's
Dark
got
Ages.
the
It's
skirt.
kind of like
They wear the
Law
skirt.
Valley in civilization
there
as
is
a
the
whole,
front
and then
row.
it rises again in the Renaissance, the High Middle Ages, and so on.
Cheerleaders
This
are
is
useless
not
anyways. There's
necessarily
really
the
no
type
purpose to
of
them. They don't do anything
periodization
for the
we
game.
use for Jewish
It was
history
back in the
because,
day, like when we have hot
the
chicks
rest
in
of the world was
football.
having the Dark Ages, we
It's
had
a weird
Sa'ad
role,
Yadal.
and
We
I don't
had
have a problem with a
tremendous
gay guy
intellect. We had
doing that.
phenomenal
Well, here's
achievements.
my opinion.
So it doesn't necessarily
Why
correspond
would I care?
to
Right?
Jewish
Like,
history. We're working with these terms
if you're in
anyways.
a
If we
stadium
are
of
to use
16,000
those terms in our
people,
purposes,
football's
we
like
should
they have
probably
60,000,
draw a
60,000.
scene,
Right. Think about
not
basketball.
with the destruction
If
of
you're
the
in a
temple,
football
although
stadium,
that was an
80,000
incredibly
people.
traumatic
How
experience.
many
It's remarkable
How many gay
that
guys are
Jewish
10%?
people
We'll go
survived it,
10%. It's
but
probably
rather
10%.
with the
Maybe a bunch of them are hiding. Yeah, maybe a bunch of them
contrary
are
to
dangerous.
popular
It's
misconception,
always kind of like
the
1 in
Jews were
10,
not
right?
simply
Closet
emptied out of
gays.
Israel with the destruction of the temple.
What's the
There
problem
were
with having
definitely
one gay
tens of
cheerleader for
thousands of
them?
exiles
You know,
who
here's
made
my
their
what's a
way,
cheerleader for?
who were taken
You
as
know, there's
slave
always going to be
ships
the fight.
to
What is the point of a cheerleader?
it's
century,
have
there
an
was another
additional
school of
visual
wolves
aspect to
against
it. I
the
like all
Romans.
the
One in
flips they
particular,
do
the
and all the jazz, and it's
ended
fun,
in
it's
disaster for
choreographed, and when it's done well, it's entertaining. Yeah, I mean, Kendrick Lamar has a great bit about it,
And so
about what
as we
their
shall see,
purpose
Jewish
is to like
population
remind
moving
the
towards
players
the
how
north
important
was
the
extremely
play is,
important for
right?
this
He's
period of
like,
time.
you know,
And
defense,
the
we gotta play
begin to
defense,
see
dude.
major movement
it's
of
an
Jews outside
extra
of Israel,
pageantry that adds to the
fracturing
experience.
on demographic
But why
basis.
shouldn't
If the
gay guy be
economy
doing
is
it?
ruined,
Like, how
will the Jews be able to stay
homophobic
together as
are
a
guys
people?
that are watching
What
that?
we'll
There's all these
discuss
hot
today
chicks.
are two
And instead, they're
primary
going, what's this
innovations,
fucking guy
two
doing in the shorts?
extreme
There's
examples of
16
Jewish
other girls with
resourcefulness
perfect
that
bodies
really
you
made
could be
it
paying
possible for
attention to.
Jewish survival
But
to
you're
extend
focused on the
through the
gay
Middle
guy.
Ages.
Yeah, and they
The
always complain
challenges
about how
of the
much
Middle
money
Ages
they're
would be
making. I'm
rather
like, dude, you
different
get to
when
go
we
to
get
the
to
game
the
for
modern
free.
period,
You're on the
but
field.
we're going to
It's like,
basically
you
follow
would
the
have a
story
great
of those
reality
two
show.
innovations.
See how
This
they
map
accept
shows
and
you
how many
roughly
download
where
lawyers
the
are
major
staring at them,
centers
dude.
of Jewish population were at the
Sure,
time.
it's
Major
my
centers
favorite
still in
player.
Israel,
Says
particularly in
10%,
northern part of
right?
Gaza, and
So here's
also
my
in
whole thing,
Babel,
dude.
Babylon,
There's always
and
going to be
significant
culture wars
centers in
between the right
Egypt
and the left.
and
I'm on
in Rome,
nobody's
and then
side.
smaller centers all
Like, I'm
around
not
the
I'm like
Mediterranean
in
basin,
the
even
middle.
in
I'm
the Black
old
Sea
school
as well
liberal.
over
You
here.
know, live and
There
let
are
live.
significant
As long as you're not hurting people,
populations of
particularly
Jews.
children, you'll never hear anything
With
from
the
me. I
end of
don't
the
care what you do
Rothschild
by
rule,
yourself with consenting adults. And
Adrian,
as
an effort
weird as
which
you
may
want,
have been
God
initially
gave us free will. Do
possibly
whatever you
inclined
want.
towards the Jews,
Pick your path.
decides to crack
You know,
down with
but when
tremendous
you start to
brutality. And
demonize
it is
certain
in the
people, you're
Hadrianic
setting
period,
up
most likely
a
after the
market for
Rothschild
blackmail.
revolt,
So when
that
people
we
can't
have
be
this period
themselves
of
and
market
they're so
Jewish
afraid of
history
people
that
finding out
remains
who
in
they
our
really
literature
are,
to this day. The
you're
Ela
setting it up so
Estra,
people can
on the
manipulate them.
holidays,
And
the
that's the story of Washington, D.C. Now, obviously, hurting children, there should never be a time where that's culturally acceptable. But that's why it's had to get so dark. It's because we don't care if somebody's gay now. It's like, at least I don't. There's some people, it's like they just always want to do the
And this is
forbidden
a time
thing.
when a great leader of Jewish people,
So, like,
Rabbi
what would
Yehuda
lead
al-Nasi,
someone? Let's
comes
get
up with
as
this
dark as we
document
can.
called
What's
the
the darkest?
Mishnah.
Probably child sex.
I wish we
There
had
you go.
time
Yeah,
to speak
100%.
over and over again about the Mishnah. I will tell you though,
I
for those
think
of you
that
who are
that's
maybe
happened
not members
before.
of the
I don't
shul,
think
for
that
the
has
past
not
2
happened in
years,
human history. It's
under
the fact that
leadership
no
of
one's
Rabbi
happened because my friend Shane Smith
and
covered
at
it
the initiative of
when
Rabbi
he was
Rothschild. They've been
over
learning
in
Mishnah every single day
Africa
after
when
davening.
he interviewed that general butt naked guy.
And over
That
the course of
guy
about
used to
5 years, they would
sacrifice
finish the entire
children
Mishnah.
from
It
the
is a
enemy
huge
tribes
document.
before
And basically,
everyone in Liberia.
on a surface level,
He
I
would
take this
sacrifice
statement
them
back.
and
For now,
cut
let's just say
open their
it's a
chest and
law
eat their
document.
heart.
It's a document that deals
He would
primarily
eat
with
a piece
law.
of their
And it's
heart
divided into
before
6
going into
sections,
battle.
which are listed here.
Right, but that's a
Seeds, which
real
deal
human being
primarily
that did
with
that. So we know
agricultural
that this,
law.
he
All
didn't
the
invent
laws
that.
that are in
He
the
didn't
Bible.
invent, no, I mean, it's in the Bible too. Like when they want to take out the Canaanites and then, when atheists use that, it's like, oh, well, you want to kill all the women and children. What do you think about that? Well, the Canaanites were practicing child sacrifice. There's a reason why. Not a language we can get into, like the Bible language, especially in the First Testament. Like, is it the language of the time, and they were a lot more blunt.
And that's why the section
But
explaining women
the Canaanites were sacrificing children.
Then
That's
right
a
after
big part of it goes all the way back to Chronos, the first god, which is the god of time. And the whole story about it was told that his kids would slay him. So every time his female would have children, he would eat the kids.
Things dealing with personal purity,
Time.
the laws of the mikvah,
Like he was
laws of your diet, things like that.
They
Now,
get
what's
weird.
fascinating
I
about
wonder how they're
Mishnah,
going
and I
to
said it
look
was a
at
law document, it really isn't.
some of the things that
Because
pharmaceutical
most
drug
law
companies have pushed through
tell you
in the
what to
future
do.
and the
The
impact it
Mishnah
had on
preserves
kids.
a phenomenal amount
And whether or not they're going to think
ambiguity.
that
It
is a
leaves
way
a
to child
tremendous
sacrifice.
white
Because it really
space
is kind
that
of,
makes
if you
it
know that it's
such a
causing
tremendously
damage,
valuable document.
but you're doing
At
it
the
for money.
time,
You
the
kind of
Nazi was a
sacrifice
sale
hundreds
by
for
his
money.
colleagues saying, how can you
How to stop
possibly
Indian
write
superstitious
down this
killings
oral
ended
tradition
in
that we've
exile.
been
What's this
handing
about
down, rabbi to student for centuries, by putting it down in
human
text,
sacrifice,
you are
particularly that of
reapplying it,
minors, has
you're
been
setting it in
prevalent in many
concrete,
parts
it's
of India for a
inflexible,
long time.
they will not be able to meet the
More
challenge of
than
the times.
85
It
kids,
will be
all under
a
13,
document
were
that people will set
ritualistically
aside
murdered
like
in
all
this
the other
country in the last 6
documents.
years
I mean, how many people really
Last
read
year,
Rachel
there were 14
Maybe
cases of parents or relatives sacrificing or attempting to sacrifice children on the advice of Assad.
Oh, phenomenal genius made it a document of tremendous
That was a
ambiguity,
part of
and
history.
it became the
Mark, it's
school
still happening.
of what we call
That's what I'm
today
saying.
the
Like that,
Talmud.
still
Now,
in
again,
2025,
I wish I I had so much more time to speak. We have
sacrificing a child is the right move. That's what
in a sentence, it is
when you
a
sacrifice a child.
massive,
Well, that's the whole thing. It's the
multi-author,
closest to God.
multi-century commentary on the
When you
mission,
think about like
trying to
things
explore
like
what
that,
exactly the mission is trying to
drugs
talk
that are
about.
pushed on kids,
And it has this
that's just for profit.
beautiful
Medications that kids
space
are forced
in
to
the
take,
middle
that's
of it
just for
where
profit.
the
Things that are
only way you
fucking
can
them up.
actually read it. It's not like reading any other kind of
It's
text,
just
like a
because
Greek
people want
text
to
that
make
has a beginning, a middle, and end, and
How
chapter
do you
headings and things like that.
You know,
It's a
when we look
wide
at
open
child
conversation.
sacrifice
Literally
and they were doing voodoo, or
2,000
the
individuals
the
speaking.
Mayans thought they were
Mainly
sacrificing
rabbis,
people to the gods.
which is
We
why
think of it
it's
as
so
barbaric,
wrong.
right? How are they going to look at
Also,
what
lots
we've
of other
done?
regular people,
When we just
non-Jews,
lied
all
about
kinds of
stuff
things.
and skirted around the truth and
studying the Talmud has really on the core of the Jewish identity, especially Jewish intellectual activity, because it allows for the debate and the back and forth that has become synonymous really with Jewish character. The iconic image of the Yeshiva, sitting in the Yeshiva, arguing about the meaning of the text, is really close to the very center of the Jewish spirit. Here's an example of everything you're where it's always study, of course, at least in pairs with a Kabrusa. The Gemara of the Talmud itself says,
if you're at a kid's park and the kid's in trouble, it doesn't need to be your kid. You run over to make sure the kid's okay. I've done it 1,000 times. But now you have people like, especially like if you look at like what's going on in Gaza, you have people labeling newborns as terrorists. Like that is your programming overriding your basic instinct, which is to protect children at all costs because they are the future. And that's powerful, powerful, powerful. So my whole theory is that the anxiety and depression and anger and all that stuff comes from when you're programming and your reality clash and they don't meet up. You're programming from generation trauma, you're programming from school, all that stuff meets reality and you start to just go a little crazy. And I think a lot of that is purposeful to get us on pharmaceuticals for lunch
and dinner. They want to make sure they have food. It's very expensive. It costs bags.
So how would they engineer that?
The Yeshiva put up a sign right outside the front door.
First of all, your grandparents, your parents telling you the trauma of your past, beating that into you forever. Like I had my buddy's girlfriend on my show, and she's Jewish, and she was telling me, I go, what's it like to grow up Jewish? And she was telling me that her parents were telling her that she has to have 3 kids, one for each parent, and then 1 kid lost to the Holocaust.
This is what it means to study the Talmud. Every single word, every single detail has so many possible meanings.
And to the point now where you're like, well, you know, these kids in Gaza are terrorists. I mean, newborn babies are terrorists. I mean, that is heavy stuff. I mean, I've heard about the Armenian genocide my whole life to the point I got a tattoo right here. You know, like that is, you know, that is your programming. Then you go to school and it's been infiltrated by all these cultural Marxists, and they're just pushing this thing to get you to hate your own country, hate the establishment, hate all this stuff. So you have this entire country where everybody's fighting with each other. And that's all done to cause, you know, maximum chaos because people are easy to manipulate and control when they're in anxiety. They're going to demand, like this whole thing with like taking over Washington D.C. right now. Everyone acts like this has just started. This started way back with BLM. Defund the cops. This has always been the goal. It's called pressure from above, pressure from below. You're afraid to go on the streets, and you have no faith that your politician's going to save you. So you have no hope. So you're completely utterly lost, and you're just demanding that you be kept safe, which is the ultimate goal, which is martial law. That's what they want, and that's what they've been doing. And it isn't starting in Washington, D.C. This is starting a while ago. If you study all these different kind of cultural clashes, that starts with BLM, that's black people. Then you go January 6th, that's white people. Then you go to Asian hate, that's Asian people. Then you go to No Kings, that's Latinos. And now you have the Supreme Court that is going to debate the legality of gay marriage. And if you go, Sam, what do you think is going to happen? I wouldn't doubt it they overturn it, because that's going to cause even more chaos. The streets are going to be burning in rainbows, dude.
Israel,
and then that is what they want, martial law. All these, you know, these judges who are completely politicized are like releasing people who are hurting kids or murdering people. That means you have no faith in the system, and that grows your anxiety. Now all of a sudden you're angry, you're depressed, and you just don't trust anything. And now you want to basically give up your God-given rights to be safe.
And you think that it's so strange
that is the goal. Pressure from above, pressure from below for Marxists. If you ever want to watch that doc on it, it's really old, 69 months,
the Ireland rivers that I follow every day,
it's called Conspiracy and Central Park. Like, you see, anybody watches that. And it brings me out. I do never think the cases, and then you're like,
and here they are,
the 50s and 60s were like radical communist ideas. They said that something's going on here, and they broke off, and
they testify in front of
The
the Congress
difference in
Senate,
Jerusalem
and
about
they basically said the goal
is
is
a
to
little bit
basically
smaller,
bring in
but
martial law.
also
And these
is a
kids
little bit different
are all
in
think they're
scope
raging against the
because
machine. They don't
the
realize
Jerusalem
the machine is
tends
funding
to
all of this
concentrate on
stuff.
things
That,
that
it's
are
like they
relative
don't
to
get
Latin
maybe
Israel, like, for
the
example, the
Latinos are really
agricultural
smart.
laws, which are not, for the
When
most part,
Eddie and I get shows all the time,
predatory
there's tons
outside
of
of Latin
Mexicans,
Israel.
tons
What's
of Latinos in
fascinating in
crime.
our
They
times
get
is that
conspiracies.
now that
So when
Jews are
Milkins
living
was
in the
happening
land of
in
Israel
LA,
again, they
they
have
were
to
like
dig
gang
out these
leaders
old
who
manuscripts
told
that
their
have not
entire
been
life,
studied
no
literally
way can go to these
centuries,
things.
and
Because they all
rewrite
found out it was funded
commentaries
by
on
the
them that had never
Walmart
been
era.
authored.
Like that's what always
new
happens.
Rashi,
They
new
the
Tosfos,
billionaires
the
fund
the
these
readings
kind of
become very-
radical
they're
groups
speaking
to sow
about
chaos.
actual reality
But
of
also
it
because
deal
they
in
don't
Israel today.
want that kind of
Another
crackdown on
fascinating thing
illegal
is
immigration.
the Daf Yomi program,
Like
which
there's
I'm
a
sure
lot
many
of
of you
people
are
who
familiar
don't
with.
want
It's
that
a
kind of
very popular
crackdown
program
because they
started
don't
in
want to pay anything.
1923
Well,
and has
there's that,
revolutionized
and
how
they're
we study.
already
This is an
hiring
idea
people
that
that are
basically
illegals, and they
says,
have them
why don't we
working
study
in their
one
factories
folio
and
that's
working in
got
their
two sides of one page every
businesses.
single day? And over
You
the
know,
course of 7.5
and
years,
then there
we
was
finished the
there's also
entire
the dispute
novel.
about
It's
SNAP,
primarily the Babylonian
about
Talmud that is studied.
cutting
This is a
back
little
on Medicaid and
push
SNAP,
here
and
for
like
a project I'm involved very
who
excited
do you have to pay benefits to, who do
which
you not have
is
to pay benefits to?
taking
That was one of
all
the things
of
that this
the
guy was telling me about.
knowledge we have about
Someone
the
told
Talmud,
him
about Daf
that he
Yomi,
had a conversation with someone who said that he's really upset
Actually,
they're
amazing
stopping
app
illegal immigration
called
because it's a
Daf,
big part of what he uses for his
the entire
business.
Daf, everything
And
you want in
he
there.
was like open
It's
about
led
it.
by
He was saying
Rabbi
that he does it because he
Rothschild.
doesn't
We're
have
going
to
to be
pay them
releasing it in
benefits.
January,
He
God
can
willing,
pay them
with
less and you don't have to pay
the
them
new
benefits.
cycle
Like he
of
was just
Daf Yomi.
saying it
And it
out
also
loud.
features
You know,
not only
so
I'm doing Jewish history
that was
on every
part
single
of the
Daf,
thing
rather
too of letting people into the country.
ambitious and
There
audacious
was
book,
like you need more of a supply of people that are willing to do the construction jobs and the the slaughterhouse jobs, like jobs that nobody wants to work in a slaughterhouse. You know, like that's. But I also hear them always saying Americans don't want to do this job, and then my fat ass is going to fucking Wendy's at 11 p.m. and I'm ordering a chicken sandwich. The guy handed me the bag is 55 years old. I mean, Americans want to work. That's a whole psyop that they don't want to do some job, but those jobs are brutal backbreaking labor. Right? If you're picking vegetables, if you're you're working in a fucking slaughterhouse, dude, that's a brutal job. You're around
major innovation
all day. Yeah, it's freezing cold. You're cutting things up. You're covered in blood. You're just around death all day long. Death is supposed to be something you occasionally see. Fucking kiss it to the sky. Thank God for the deer. You're not supposed to see slaughter 24 hours a day. That's crazy. That's like not normal for a human being. And what's really weird is how I've seen so much death in movies that when I see a dead person, which I think the first time I saw a dead person, I would be incredibly shocked. I remember I was driving home from Vegas with my then girlfriend, and there was a giant car crash. Like a giant car. I mean, it was nasty. She's like, don't get out of the car. And I'm like, I'm a hero. I'm gonna get out of the car. See once everything's okay. This one car flipped.
You have someone called a Parnas,
and there was somebody laying there.
word is actually related to the word president.
And somebody ran over with
that's basically the head
car
of
jack
the
to
Jewish
like
community.
get it up. I go, you're gonna look
alongside
at
the
something
Parnas
you're not
is
ready
the
to see
rabbi.
right now.
Now it's an
It's like,
unusual
it's
kind of
done.
arrangement because the
When I was blown away
rabbi draws
by
a salary
not
from the
affected
community. And so, in a very pragmatic way, the rabbi is
first time I'd seen like outside of a funeral.
and has
I'd
to have
seen
his
a dead
contract
body,
renewed
like
by the
that just had a
but at the
violent
same time, the
Why
rabbi
do you
is
think
a
you would
noted
affect?
expert
Because I think
on
I've seen
legal
so many
authority
movies
because of his
where I've just
knowledge
seen
of
dead
the
people
Torah and his
that
mastery
it
of the
just was
Torah.
like a
So
movie
it's a
to
kind
me.
of a
And I
dynamic
didn't have
where
any
there is
reaction to it.
two
When the
rulers of
first
the
days I
community,
moved to
and they
LA,
have to watch
you know,
their step with each
I've
other.
lived in LA since
Parnas,
98, 99.
you know,
And like
were
I
to
was
get
back
rid of
there
a
in the
rabbi
crazy
that's
days on
popular, the
Hollywood
Parnas
Boulevard
would
where
be
it was still
hard-pressed to
thriving.
maintain
And there
his
was this
position.
weird
And the
store
rabbi at the
inside
same time
that
cannot
smelled death.
demand too
And I
much
looked in and there was
scrupulosity
something laying
from
down there.
his
And
community,
again,
or he'll have
not
a
affected
revolution
by it. I go, I think that's a dead
as
body.
well.
It's like,
So
get
it's
out
kind
of
of
here.
an
There's
interesting
no dead body.
dynamic
Go
between
away.
rabbi and
But it
Parnas.
smelled like
Below
death.
that are the
But I still
so-called
was really amazed.
That's more of a
That was kind of the first time I saw a dead body.
which is basically the board of
I was
directors.
just
Every
amazed by
Jewish
how
community
affected I
had
was.
board of
And
directors
I'd
called
seen
the good
this.
people of
Like
the
I've
city.
been programmed and
And
conditioned to see these
they
things.
would essentially appoint
Which
from
normally
their
back
own
in the day
ranks
would be
the president. Usually on a rotating basis, I was quasi-democratic. Women generally do not have to vote. Women generally do not sit on the two-way idea, and also non-clerical individuals
Well, I can tell you
did not
something.
sit on the
I used to
two-way
do
idea. This was kind of
USO
like
tours.
an
And the
honor,
first time I
but
go,
it was
I
a
think it was with Brian
responsibility of
Callen
wealth
this time.
as well.
No, that was
people
my
who
first
have
one, but
means were
I
expected to serve
that
the
was the first
community
one. I do
by
with Steve
guiding
Bird,
it in
Dale
this
David
leadership function.
and Brian Kelly. We had
Alongside
this
that,
very nice
just
man
like
who
the monarch
was
had the rabbi beside
showing
him,
us around. He was
the
our kind of our
Beit Din
leader
was
of
beside the
our
Tuayer. The
tour.
Beit Din is, of
And
course,
he
the
was telling
court,
me
the
that
Jewish
in
court
World
of
War
law,
I,
because the rabbi cannot rule on
they
his own,
found that the guys
particularly when
couldn't
you get
shoot
to certain matters
enemy
involving
because they didn't
financial
want to kill them.
considerations.
They didn't
They would
have
have a
it in
court that would be assembled
them
of
to
3,
kill another human
sometimes
being.
5
So he
rabbis
says
that would make
that's when you
decisions. And
start
once
to
again, the
see
Tuvei
in
here,
movies
they may have wanted,
guns
let's say,
coming out
like
and
one
shooting
thing you see
people.
over and
It's
over again
programming.
in the regulations of Jewish
And
communities
that's when it got
is a
real way
pushback
easier
on
to start
sumptuary
shooting people. Now you got these
legislation.
video games where
Sumptuary
you're
legislation
just going in
refers
somewhere and
to
you're murking
literally
everybody. And movies.
how
In
big a
movies
party
or video
you throw.
games. Tons of
Over
movies,
and
tons of
over
video
again, right up
games.
until, by the way,
We were
our
just
own
talking about
days,
that the
with
other day
no
when you see
signs
people
of
getting
stopping.
in fights,
The
like
rabbis
you
are
park them on
constantly
some
trying
shit.
to put
It's
limits
almost like people
on
think life is a movie.
parties. And they
Like
will
you don't
literally
really
say,
understand what a fight is,
only
like how
2
dangerous
kinds
it
of
is and scary it
participants.
is.
And
And
you
you're
can't have
doing it
more
like
than
like
100
it's
people
like
at
you're
this
in a
kind of
movie.
event. And we
And I
actually try to put
wonder
limits. But on
how
the
much
other
of
hand,
it's because
you know,
people have
especially in
seen
times
people
of
fight in
prosperity,
movies.
Jews will
And they
want to
just
throw
don't
bigger and bigger parties.
understand
We
how
are
crazy it is
gregarious
when there's
people.
no
We love
rules.
parties.
And
And so
you're
the
just
herring
hoping
just
this
keeps
guy
flowing in,
fights
the rabbis
first
take
thing
time
you
with
do.
the
You have
back.
no idea.
But that's the
You don't know what
dynamism
you're doing.
between the rabbis and the example of sanctuary laws, and obviously much other more serious examples as well. And the real them are the different societies. The word Gabbai, today we have a Gabbai, we have a Jews in the synagogue, that's the person who basically chooses who runs what parts that he serves, who calls up into read from the Torah, who reads the services, all kinds of things like that. And it's, you know, it doesn't seem to be an extremely high status position in a lot of ways. It certainly gets not too much credit and a lot of service, which is a lot of activation for doing it. But given the constant deal of the Bible, we're literally being forces that must go behind the decisions that they take down to the idea. As you can see, for example, the Tuvayer will assess your taxes to the community. And if you didn't pay, then you would have these muscular men come to your home and take it from you. They were literally
Mission Impossible, and it's
they would also
insane, dude.
enforce
Have you ever seen that?
legislation like
It's
forcing
amazing,
you
bro.
to give
Oh, dude, it just gets
divorce
cranked
bill
up, cranked
to
up,
your
cranked up.
estranged
But
wife.
there's like
If
2
you
chicks in
didn't
it
do
who
that,
weigh
then you
more
would
than
be
100
literally
pounds beating the shit out of everybody. And I'm like, this is you need a cyborg type chick. Right. You gotta have somebody like Cyborg, like that woman. Cyborg is like the Will Chamberlain of female MMA, where like you could drop her 20 years in the future and she'd still be murking people because she's like that well built and she's that skilled. But that's who would be doing it, not like 100-pound women. No. She has to weigh 135 for a very small amount of time, but she was the 155-pound champion of the PFL. She's a big lady. She's jacked. She's a juggernaut. She's super powerful. And like, she gets a hold of these ladies. It's like the difference is so obvious. She's so fucking strong, man. So if that lady was in a movie, fucking block, I'd be like, oh yeah, totally makes sense. If I was an X-Men, I'd be like, I'm running this bitch with some supermodel wave and hand shields and fucking throwing sidekicks that are perfect. Like, come the fuck on. Stop. I have a joke about Karen Knightley. She's like fighting other men. I'm going to just fighting this anorexic. There we go. Yeah, so she, you know, it's just everything's programmed. Well, it is, but I wonder if it's because we like that stuff, because it fits in our head, and like Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, like it fits in our head. We want someone to kick their ass, and then you'll win in the end. You go through the trials, and he hit her. Oh my God, she's bleeding. She kicks his ass. Yeah. There's this thing that we want to see. Something about her where you believe that you're like, that's a bad bitch, and she don't fucking flop, but she did it in the greatest science fiction movie of all time. She did it in Alien. Alien is the greatest sci-fi horror. I'll say sci-fi horror. Greatest sci-fi horror.
For example, they had to pay for this somehow, right? So taxation was a part of the Israel function. They would literally assess every member of the Israelite expected to reach, and it was a progressive scale where the dark period is certainly paying more, and the full is some of the most fascinating documents we have track the way in which the full was collected. There was a head count imposed by the non-Jewish when the Israel leaders had to figure out, okay, we have 1,000 people here and only 300 to take the full tax. How much are we going to charge those 300? So how much is the 1% going to pay? How much is the 10% going to pay? So they had that authority, and there was no way to effectively oppose it. You could appeal it, and some of the most dramatic appeals, by the way, are by women feel they have been wrong. One of the high traditions, which I do not recommend to adopt here at York, I think it was backfire, is that the woman felt that she was really wrong by the authorities, then she would walk into the men's section in the middle of Shabbos davening and stand on the female, effectively shut down the entire Shabbos. You know, the morning is really funnier comedian and that's what because she won't reach the female, and she is the man right in there interfering on whatever issue. So that's like kind of a very extreme form. So that there were such things, but for the most part, we simply have to so but also enact lots of proactive legislation, so-called regulate the affairs of the community as a whole, and maintaining standards. Now, we already talked about enforcement, so let's go on. And as we try and summarize valuable
it's crazy. Like, Apple TV is putting out insanely great programming, but you don't realize how woke it is until you're already captured, right? And then you're like, well, what did I just watch? Like, I was watching Hijack, and I forget the name of the actor. No, it was a TV show, and it was the black British actor who's in The Wire. I forget what his name is. He's such a great. He's phenomenal, right? He's awesome. But I'm watching the show, and about 5 episodes in, I realized this is a story of a black man who stops white hijackers from hijacking a Middle Eastern plane.
Saying, hey, listen, we expect you to behave in these ways. And then you have no choice rather than to submit to the
you don't realize
when we get to the bottom here, we will see how that breaks down in some very tragic ways, but that's for next week. It also relied heavily
some sort of a hijacking type situation, right?
At the level of DNA and real charity. It was expected that the
Wahlberg plays a great psycho. He has darkness behind the eyes. He plays a great psycho. He's also very lucky he didn't get on a plane on 9/11. How lucky is that guy?
That's well.
What are you trying to say? You got a heads up? I'm just saying. How about people just get lucky sometimes? Some people, him,
was a fascinating thing that happened a little bit later in our period for discussion today, but it's relevant for our discussion.
He changed his plans to a different flight to Toronto, Canada,
from the Black Sea to the Baltic Sea,
later made comments
found themselves within Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which in the 15th century was the largest country in Europe as a result of the dynastic union.
But I don't buy that whole thing.
Europe said, you know what? Why don't we standardize ourselves? Why don't we meet twice a year and make sure that we're imposing the same legislation on all of you?
Now you're getting into like high
phenomenal level
and how there's like layers. There's so many layers to it because they have to ensure that the actual hijacking itself. Do you think that those guys
there was no formal
that we found, luckily, it was like
social safety net in the non-Jewish world, and here the Jews are organizing themselves to such a tremendous degree within a state
incredible
that represents a phenomenal level of civilization's accomplishment that was the height of the Brazilian ground.
Was it singed at all? Steven Singed? I have a show called Doom Scrolling where we just watch all these conspiracy videos, and one of them is Passport Man, where they made a superhero just out of passports.
Imposed some extremely draconian measures, including the conscription, the forced conscription of Jewish children into the army,
and demanding that the one of the planes into the towers
choose which Jewish children were forced to go into the army. By the way, that's 25 years.
Sometimes you just get lucky. Maybe God was looking out for
extremely
Can you show me the video of the impact? Can we just see the video? Let's
decision
just imagine being a passport and saying, listen, it's your job.
Next week
You're
at
not
Jerusalem. So Nicholas the
all the
First
other people
really
on board with
crushed it out of
passports, their
existence in
passports,
Russia,
for whatever reason, didn't
leaving
burn
only a
up.
little
You know, all
bit
those like
behind
American
to
citizens with
taxation
passports.
for the
Yeah, they don't
Tsar
get
state.
into it, dude. All those
And in
people
the
from other
West,
countries that were just here on
under
vacation with their
Napoleon,
passports. Yeah,
with the
those passports.
freedoms that were given to the
Just go and
Jews,
check out
he
New York. Should
demanded
be
that this
cool.
person,
Nope.
Rabbi David
So let's watch the impact.
convene a great
Imagine if
Sanhedrin
you're a
which
passport
determined
and you
exactly
gotta
how
do
the
your
Jew was
job.
to exist
Here it goes.
within a modern citizen state in which Jews have freedom of religion and freedom of rights
That's
like
what it
every other
did. Oh,
citizen.
they're not showing
And this
how
was
it impacts.
also quite damaging to the
But I want to
authority
see the real one
and
when
the
it went
extent of
flying.
the
Yeah, where you
power
see
of
it go bang and then
have to discuss
yeah,
that
see if you
more
can find
next
a
week. But
video where it
during
flies
the
right
Middle
into
Ages,
it.
it was an extremely powerful
So,
and useful device
before we're
for the
found
Jews to
in that
maintain
little church, the
their
other three were not there.
Now,
How about
the
18?
next
Can you
two
just explain
sections
the impact on South
refer
Tower? This
to
is
a
like,
bifurcation
you know,
in
those
the Jewish
compilations
experience
on
throughout the
porn.
Middle
It's
Ages.
the only thing I
For the
explained.
most
By
part,
the way, 26 days on
overwhelmingly,
porn.
Jews found themselves under
Okay,
one
that
of
one
two
it flew into the
civilizations,
backside.
either under Islam or
But you have
under
that one where it's
Christianity.
kind of up like
And
here,
the
and then
experience
it
of Jews
goes
under
in, and
those
then it
two
like it's
civilizations
some weird.
vary tremendously. We're going to speak today in very broad terms and
Okay,
in
so
broad
no, we're
strokes
seeing it
because
from
we
the other
only
side
have
too. But I've
15
seen it
minutes
from
to
the
go
other
through.
way.
But first,
I've
let us
seen
look
the
at the period
plane actually
under
fly in.
Crescent, which
So yeah,
refers
that
to
angle,
under
right?
the
Yeah, it's
Islamic
from below up. Is that right
Islam
there?
is born in the 7th century. It starts out, you can see in the darker brown
That's
area
it.
over here,
That's it.
in Mecca and
If you
Medina,
slow that
and
thing
it
down and
spreads
look, there's some
with
papers flying
amazing
out.
rapidity throughout the entire Mediterranean
Boom, those are
basin.
the papers.
Also eastward
That's
through
class.
Persia into Afghanistan, where we would have
The
Pakistan and so on,
is
and
making
out to the west, all the way
there's
across
nothing
the
left.
coast of
That's
North
just
Africa,
goo and
and
incineration and
the year
fire and
711,
jet fuel. And then
named
the jets
chain
had
of
just
fast food
taken off,
places.
correct?
Yeah.
And so they had a full, they took off from Boston, which is very close. Very close.
Into
And so they
Spain, and
a lot
for
of
several
gasoline.
hundred years, Spain is
How the
actually
fuck's the
Muslim.
passport?
They
How
are
many
stopped
passports
from
were received?
getting much past
One was found below the World
Constantinople,
Trade
and
Center. Two were
Northern
found
Europe
in the
remains
coast of
Christian,
Pennsylvania, and one was
but
found in
they
Lebanon.
dominated the entire southern part of the Mediterranean,
Well, that's
which was, of course, the home
But the
of
fires,
hundreds of
the
thousands of Jews
crash,
at the time.
one
Now,
fire.
under
That
Islam,
one's
this is kind of like an
that's the
ironic thing
magic
for
bullet
us
on
because
steroids.
unfortunately,
That's crazy.
we
And then
live in a
somehow took
time
off
of
those two and then two
conflict
other
with Muslim
buildings.
nations.
And nobody talks
This
about
is
building
centered
five. Okay, here's a
absolutely
good one.
in
The
Israel,
one,
with the Arab-Israeli
that,
conflict that has been going on
the Let's
for
Roll one.
well over a century,
out of the
and it
sky,
tends to color much of our understanding of Jewish relations with Muslims.
But doesn't that one
In the
seem
Middle
like they
Ages,
chuck one out?
however,
Yeah.
on the
Because
balance,
that one
most
is
scholars
weird
agree
because the wreckage
that
is spread out
it
for
was far
miles.
easier to live as a Jew
Not like
under
it
Islam
crashed into the
than it
ground,
was
but
to live
like
as a
it
Jew
got
under
shot out of the
Christianity.
sky
There
and
were
slowly drifted to Earth going
punctuations
500
of
miles an hour.
violence, but we can certainly
Yeah,
point
and
to
then
Muhammad
what
himself,
is this? That's his passport.
involved with the massacre of one Jewish
Oh,
tribe.
is that it?
But for the most
Do they
part,
actually have the
speaking
photo
in
of it?
generalization and comparing to the Christian
Pretty bad,
environment,
but come on.
Islam
How
treated
weird is that
Jews
that
better
Neo's
for much
driver's
of their
license
history.
is the damn thing.
Part of the
Also,
reason
like,
for this is
what would
because
cause a
really
passport
Islam
that's on
and
fire to
Judaism
not be on fire
have a
anymore?
far more
Just
common
curious.
cultural
Why would it stop
vocabulary
at his
than
face?
does Judaism.
Just curious. I mean, once
Christianity.
things are on fire and they
Judaism,
made out of
like
paper and
Islam, is
plastic,
primarily a
generally,
religion of practice.
they don't stop being on fire
we
until there's
say,
nothing else to burn.
we say
How does it
orthodox,
stop?
which means like not
Well,
that,
that to
but
his
really
face.
it's
Well, how
one
about all these fires? This is the big debate on tinfoil hat. We
Judaism,
debate all
and
the
here, I'm
time.
gonna get in trouble
You
with
have
the
all these
rabbis
houses that are
always say
incinerated, and then there's all these
Judaism,
trees
for
that are
the
perfectly
most
fine.
part, does not
So then you
seem to
get into
care
the debate,
that
like
much
what causes
what
fire?
we
Oh, it's drought.
There are a
Okay,
few
but
things
why
that
are
are
the
really
trees okay?
important,
Because they have
right?
water in them.
There
Well,
is
is
one
are we in
God,
a drought or do we
life
have
after
water?
death,
And that's
and
when you
things
get
like that are
into
important. But you can run
vibrations,
out of
dude.
those
Like, I don't know,
ideas
for,
pretty
you know,
quickly.
like, yeah,
On the other hand,
like
if you want to ask
radio
Judaism how to
waves
behave,
and stuff
then
like
you
that.
have years of stuff.
Dude, everyone thinks it's a direct, that's a big part of this. That people think it's direct action.
how to do business. It just goes on and on and on. So Islam is similar to this. Islam has a very practice-oriented sense of law as being the best sort of religion. They have something they call Sharia.
Fires. Right after that, Eddie and I are doing tinfoil hat. We do Bakersfield first, and then we go to Sacramento.
And you can look at 100 different things. See that Muslims and Jews, although they may not practice identically, they still understand what they're talking about. If a Muslim says, I can't eat this, I need to eat halal, we understand that. And they also understand what it means to be kosher. There's so many areas in which
run all of these houses. They're the ones who run the electricity and the power for all of California. First show we do in Bakersfield, a bunch of guys who look like George Arthur show up.
Christianity, on the other hand,
I'm like, oh, that's super interesting because that just happened. And then the next time in Sacramento, I remember this very well because it was the last night I ever drank alcohol ever in my life. There was some hot blonde with a fat rack.
Significant
And I'm like, today's my friend. He goes, what? So I have a shot with her. She tells me she's from PG.
So it stands to reason
both nights
that
in a row,
by and
we have
large,
people show up to our show from this company that everybody
there was
says
a
could be
legislative
behind it with these smart
why the
meters, okay?
Muslims early on in
So
the
I
19th
asked you a
century
question
that
before you go
made
on.
this
How big
clear.
were the kids? This is here in Bakersfield, is that what you're saying? The first show is Bakersfield. That's what's the serial show? Sacramento. And where do these people work? Where's their building? Like, where, I mean, PG&E's all over California, right? So they were at different offices. Both of those places, a lot of people don't go to, right? Like, it's when people go, well, when we do a show in Bakersfield, I'm going to LA, they're like, oh shit, someone came out here. Like, no one goes out there. Yeah, I would imagine if you're at PG&E, you're stuck in some podunk fucking town. I mean, it's possible. It's very weird that two shows in 2 nights. I'm just saying it's super interesting, weird, but it's also it's like those people that work for these organizations, and they live probably just regular people living lives, and they like your show. I like conspiracies. I just like to put the brakes on some. So it's the radio waves cause the fire is going to be a problem. Okay. So Wednesday, Pacific Gas Electric revealed to federal judge that its utility equipment issues may have caused fires in some California counties, including Kern County. According to court documents, May 30th and 31st, Bell Ridge Fire burned 53 acres after a power line fell, causing the grass to catch on fire. The documents also said that PG&E worker had identified a broken tie wire but was not fixed in time. So this is from 2019,
this is the way that
right?
Jews lived for hundreds of years
Caused
under
fires,
Islam.
including Fresno,
We're talking about a situation in which there was obviously discrimination. This was a second-class status.
So I had somebody hit me up one time, and they were talking about how
historically Jews
there's a weird percentage that insurance companies do
discriminatory
whether
as long as they are stable and predictable. The German word for it is
she was telling me that everyone on her block
a society based
a
on
really
law.
high rating, except for her.
And that's why Jews flourished, for example, for
And I go, well, does your house have a smart meter on? She goes,
Montreal was
no,
also
I'm the
a
only
different
one on
place
the
to
block
look
that doesn't
because
have a
they
smart
knew that,
meter on.
okay, there are certain things that
She
Jews
goes,
simply
holy
couldn't get
shit,
away with.
right?
But if someone threw a rock
What's
through
really
your window,
interesting about the
you could
Sacramento
take
show,
out this
besides the
report
big
and you would receive reparations.
percent,
It's society based on law. When societies break down and they have
I'm outside on the
that's
balcony,
when Jews
right?
become
I'm
very
outside on
nervous
the patio
and they
talking
tend
to everybody
leave.
after
But
a show.
little bit
This
of
woman comes up to me,
some
and
would
she
argue,
goes,
my
you know, I
colleague
live in
Yusuf
paradise.
would
I go,
argue,
really?
for
I
example,
go, what
it's
happened?
actually good for
She goes, I have to tell you the
Jewish
story.
because it tends to force
She goes, I was
Jews
just
together.
chilling
It
there,
tends
like
to,
on her porch or something like that.
reinforce
She
the
looked up,
boundaries to
and she saw
assimilation
this
in the
like
outside.
silver cigar thing.
The
in the
greatest
sky.
example,
Right, the silver cigar thing, and she said lights are going back and forth, and this is right before the fire, back and forth. And then she said suddenly the lights all just went, boom!
Jews
and then there were fires everywhere. And I stopped thinking about this story a long time ago. And suddenly videos now are popping up all over Twitter. If you go to my Twitter, samtripoli.com, there's a video right now of a guy playing catch with his dog, and he throws the frisbee. And when the dog goes up to grab the frisbee, suddenly you see something fly through the air that is a silver-like cigar.
This is the Alhambra, by the way.
Okay, let me see this video because
of a Jewish king.
there was a time where Eddie Bravo and I got way too high, and we thought that rods were flying through the air. We watched this documentary on rods. Remember rods?
Who was actually a very
okay.
famous diet doctor.
You got into conspiracies a little later, son. I've always been. This was one of the dumb ones. This was a really dumb one. So there's these things that supposedly flew so fast through the sky that you could only see them in video footage. You couldn't see them with the naked eye. Turns out what it was bugs flying quickly close where the lens is, and it's a video artifact. So it stretches these bugs out and makes them look like rods that are flying through the air. It's just that the video's not that good.
So there was a show, I forget the show, something Finding Monsters or something like that, on the History Channel, I believe. One of those shows, you know those shows? And they were trying to find out what rods were. So they set up cameras, decided to try to see if they can capture them with film. And then they set up a super high-speed camera in the same location. And they did it over like a little campfire, so that bugs would be flying around. And every time it was campfire, whatever, some kind of light where bugs were flying around. And then they were filming it. And then on the high-speed camera, you could clearly see those bugs. But on the low-speed camera,
general of a Muslim army for 16 years.
Never
Now, if you think about it for a
flying
second,
through the
one
air,
of
but
the
it's
geniuses of
just
Spanish Jews
video
is so
artifacts.
amazing.
Okay,
When you look at
but
our
this thing
cultures,
slows
in
it
fact,
down.
most Jewish
Doesn't look like
cultures,
a bug.
you find that Jewish
Did you find it's like it
is
was like
usually
one of the
either
newer
expressed
videos
in
I put
terms
out? What
of
do you think it is?
something
Things you
within
go
the
from?
Jewish community,
Oh, I
like
don't
a great
believe.
Torah scholar or something, a great chazan, something like that.
Do you know that we've had identifying crafts
like an
that we go at
Einstein or
200
something
miles
like
an hour
that.
before the
You
Civil
never
War?
have someone
So
doing
here it
both
is.
those
Give me a
things.
moment.
So could you imagine some guy who was a Rosh Yeshiva in Lakewood,
Bro, that
who
dog's
was
gangster. That's
also the
good steak
general
leg.
of
See it?
the American Army at the same time?
Just let it play because it
It's so
shows you what it
mind-boggling,
is.
and yet this is what was happening in Grenada under Shmuel HaMekid. I'm not going to address that one. But this is the kind of person he was. And he wrote poetry as well. He used to, it's amazing. He used to write poetry from the battlefield.
Okay, he's going to slow it down.
Right up to the very end of his life, he was at the front
Fast.
lines. He would write poetry and then tie it to the legs of
Do you think
carrier
that
pigeons
there's that
to
thing
fly home
behind
to
it?
his
Is
son,
that,
who would collect
here's
it
the thing,
into
is
a
that
diwan that
the
eventually has
inability
reached
of
us
the
to
video to
amazing
catch it
poetry.
because it doesn't seem
And then
like
you
it,
go
because
down
the video
Lady
is
for another
catching it?
example. A phenomenal
I don't
poet
know
philosopher.
enough
You
about
should understand that Spanish
high-speed
Jewish society was so
filming
amazing at the time.
or
They
about
actually
what
had
this is, the slow-mo filming.
riots in the streets between Jews. I mean, Jews actually fighting each other physically
The blurry shit
over
behind it's weird.
poetry.
You
Because
know
there
what it
was
looks
this
like? It
guy
almost sounds
named
like a jet coming
Dunashi
out
bin
back.
Mabrak, who came from
What do
Baghdad,
you think
and
that
he
is?
said, hey, listen, I've got a great idea. Why don't
What do
we
you think that is,
adapt Arabic
Right, but what's
meter
that trail?
to
You think that's a
Hebrew
bug?
poetry? And all of a sudden,
Yeah, as
particularly
it's
by
moving fast, so it's
manipulating
stretched
how you
out
count
as a
the
video
vowels
artifact,
of
just like the
schwa
rods
vowel,
thing. Yeah, I would
you
use
can
it
make
for video
Hebrew
art. It just looks
poetry
like the
sound
wings
so
of a
much
bug.
better.
There's a
And so there
body.
were
It's
actually
got
riots in the
giant
streets
wings.
between
And what kind
Jews
of
who were
bug looks like that?
traditionalists.
And what kind
Because
of
we know
bug
we
is
want to
that?
go poetry. We will
I
not
mean,
accept this
I think
newfangled
it's a
poetry
perspective
influenced
thing.
by
I think
Arabic
the
poetry.
bug
And you
moves.
had the youngsters
Bugs
who
move
say,
pretty
oh, this
fucking
Arabic
fast.
poetry is great. It's
But
like rock
bugs
and roll.
moving
We
fast
have
in
to
the
have
right
it.
direction.
Can you imagine? We don't
Far
have
away,
this
little.
today.
You're going to see
We
things
find
that
about
far
Jewish
away.
tradition
Little.
of
It's so
poetry.
little
So
that
let me
as
give you
it
a couple
passes by,
examples
it
that
gets
ViralRabbi
slow
is
so
amazing
quickly. It gives you the illusion
Here's one.
of more speed.
Give you a
Because
sense
it's
of
so
the
little,
range of the poetry. And by the way, there are forms that they both Shmuel and
Like, you ever see a mosquito
that are
and you
too
see it float
X-rated
to the
to be
air and
discussed
then
in
you
shul.
can't find the
I'll
fire
give you some
because there's
future
too
ones.
little.
This is
Right,
upright.
so they just, once
And
they
if
go a
we
certain
didn't
distance
get
away,
rid
it's like they went a
in
million
an
miles.
attempt to
Far away
do a
that
separated
is. I
accent,
mean, that is
notice
way
the way
right over the camera.
meter,
That's what I think happened. I think it went right over the camera, and I think within a couple of seconds, like look where it goes. It's like right gone. I think it's right over the camera in the right direction, and I think it only takes like, you know, a millisecond for a fucking bug to do it. Let's see it again.
Remember that song
Watch,
that
here
came
it
out a
goes.
little while ago? Not your song.
Stop it at its farthest. Just don't stop it. There it goes.
I would jump in front of a
It's already
train.
gone.
Oh, yeah. Right?
That's pretty
It's the
fast.
same, actually, meter of Yehuda HaLevi.
Okay, I changed my
But
mind.
what's signature? Oprah. It's a woman's name. Does
Maybe,
her laundry in
you
my
know,
tears.
maybe there's
right?
a
Because she
type
has
of bug
rejected
that I'm
me
not
as a
aware of that
lover.
moves really
She's not
fast,
friends
though.
with me. So I'm
Where is that?
crying
Where's
so
that
much
smoke?
that she says, oh, look at all this.
I don't know where that comes from. That means a lot.
Her laundry.
Like, we need to
And
know
then
where to put
because
these.
she is so
They've had
radiant,
crafts
she flies in
before the
sometimes she
Civil
gives
War.
up.
They were building
She doesn't have to
crafts that
take it
went
to the
200
top. She
miles
doesn't
an
have to,
hour.
like,
Okay,
her
who's
laundry can
they?
get washed
And
right
where
to
do
the
you use government? Before the Civil War. Before 1865.
The
They
range
had
of poetry
crafts
is
that
incredible.
could
Here's
go
another
200
one
miles an hour in the air.
Yehuda HaLevi
You
initially
could
was a
look it
poet for
up.
hire. Again,
Pre-Civil
holy
War
foreign societies. People
aircraft.
would pay
Well, there was
poets to come to their weddings,
a bunch of like German scientists in America that were working with the U.S. government. So this predates Orville
People
Wright.
would bring herring.
I'm just telling you, right?
So
Doesn't it?
you know,
I don't know dates.
So
I
this
think
one
it
here,
does,
it's actually
right?
just the
Isn't
first stanza
Orville
of
Wright? Is that
stanza
the end of the
that
1800s?
deals with, it's spoken spoken from different voices
When was that?
on the death of a
You know what?
daughter.
I love that. You just asked
Well,
for
right.
phone.
And again,
Go on ChatGPT.
this is the
When
father
did
speaking. Later, the
Orville
mother
and
will
Wilbur
speak,
Wright
and then
fly the first
ultimately
plane?
the dead daughter herself will speak of her experience.
1903.
Speak to
So you're telling me that in 1865,
I'm telling you, it's multiplying crafts that well, as long as you've done multiple shows on it, brother, I'm the truth, okay? Where the fuck did you hear this? I had two guys, Joseph P. Farrell was on, and he's like amazing. And he was
second person make sound, and it flows off the tongue and expresses a sadness that cannot be uttered in regular prose. Just gives you a sense of the height of civilization in the Spanish culture. But the greatest of them all, of course, is a so-called great ego, Maimonides himself. And time does not, we cannot justify a discussion of Maimonides with anything less than the hours. But he made two signal contributions, which are overwhelming in their import and reached well beyond the parameters of Jewish society. He revolutionized the study of Torah by saying, you know what, it's so complicated, the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Torah, I can't even keep them all straight. He didn't say that, I said that. But he said, I'm just going to restate the whole thing in a common language, in simple Hebrew, that basically seventh graders can read. The entire Torah, start to finish. All the laws organized. You can look it up yourself. You don't need to run to the rabbi every minute for every question. This is part of the reason he got in trouble, because the rabbi said, hey, you're putting us out of work here. But he essentially revolutionized the whole thing by saying, I'm just going to make it easy for you. And at the same time, although he was a populist and he wrote this for the masses, he also wrote a soaring philosophical classic called the Mabul Tabukim, the Guide for the Perplexed, which led the confused reader who was doubting Judaism because of the impact of Islamic philosophy through a sophisticated, philosophically astute understanding of what it is all about. So with those two directions, he revolutionized Judaism really for millennia. Of course, he was hated for it in many circles, and his documents were burned at Jewish insistence in the year 1232, which set off a whole cycle of negativity for European Jews afterwards. But we'll have to discuss that next week. So that's basically the experience under Islam. I painted a bit of a rosy picture because we only have a little bit of time. There were definitely moments of violence. There were definitely, fissures in this otherwise beautiful kind of coexistence, but it failed by comparison to what's happening under the cross. So, like the Pact of Umar, Christianity has something called the doctrine of witness. But because Christianity is so much closer to Judaism than Islam, every single dispute is magnified. If you want to think of it like this, Judaism is the mother religion, and then you have Christianity, the daughter religion, and then you have Islam, the granddaughter religion. So fights between mother and daughter are very common, and they sometimes can be very bitter and nasty and lasting. Fights between grandmother and granddaughter, not so much, right? Because by the time you're a grandmother, and they're so cute and little, and you have perspective on life, you tolerate a lot more. So that's kind of like Judaism, Christianity, Islam. The fight between Judaism and Christianity tends to be quite nasty. But in the 4th century, St. Augustine came up with something called the doctrine of witness. It said, just like Umar was asked, what are we supposed to do? What are the rights and privileges of Jews? Augustine said, you know what, we have to figure out what's our relationship to the Jewish people now. Christianity is now the state religion, the Roman Empire. Jews are now the minority. We have the power. What should we do with them? He said, first of all, slay them not. We should not kill them all. With Baruch Hashem, we have to thank St. Augustine for that. He said there is a place in this society for Jews. What is that place? We have to serve as witnesses when the second coming occurs. Meaning that we Jews have to be alive such that when the Messiah comes the second time, we'll be able to sort of slap our heads and say, man, we should have gone with the V8. I mean, we should have gone with the first one. Now we can really confirm that, yes, this is in fact the Messiah. That's the witnessing, the testifying that Jews are. So what that meant was Jews should be allowed to practice their faith quietly, like under Islam with the Pact of Umar, but they should not be destroyed. Forced baptism was technically illegal, but nevertheless widely ignored. Certainly murdering them was contrary to church practice. Now, that meant there were some ambiguities in that, though, because what happens if, there's another aspect of witness I should mention, that even before the second coming,
Jews are supposed to witness in their abject and depressed state that this is what happens to people who reject the Messiah. Right? As long as we are walking around moping and sad and degraded, then you can point to Jews and say, look, see, that's what happened to those people because of what they did back in the first century. But what happens if the Jews are driving around in Mercedes-Benz and they're wearing fine clothes and they're wealthy and having plenty of time off, things like that, vacations, then it's not working. And so therefore, one of the ambiguities that was present in the Doctrine and Witnesses, there was a forced humiliation of Jews in all kinds of different contexts. Sometimes it was a literal thing like the head of the Jewish community would have to present himself on Easter to the mayor of the town for a ritual slap in the face. Sometimes it was forced sermons. But perhaps the most common element was in the Fourth Bible Council of 1215, Jews were required to wear a humiliating distinguishing badge. Sometimes it was as you see here, as the two tablets of the law.
That's a lot of books, dude. I
Sometimes
can
it
barely read
was
one
a
book. I'm stuck
ruel,
on
which
Alexander
represented
Center right
the
now.
coins
What
that
is he saying?
Judas
He's
received
saying
for
that
betraying his master, and sometimes
pre-Civil
it
War and
was
during
this
Civil War,
kind of
they had
coin
crowds that were
act
traveling at
called
200 miles an hour.
which
And
later evolved
you
into
can
the
find
witch's
pictures of it
cap
on the internet.
and to the
Well,
Christ's
Moses'
cap.
pictures.
which,
Well, there's drawings, dude. Someone took
may
drawings.
have never was
Come
like
on,
my father.
man. Why, Jamie, you're leaving me here. Hang on,
Forced to
he'll
wear
get
the
you.
dunce
He'll
cap
get you.
in the corner.
It's got to be
It goes
legit.
back to
There, it
this
sounds
Jewish
so
hat
legit.
that Jews were forced
Will
to
you
wear
look
in
up why
symbol
why
of
J.P.
humility
Farrell
to,
so many
as a
years
humiliation.
before they
It was
flew
usually
the first
yellow,
very
sometimes
primitive
red,
plane
or
that could barely get off
variations.
the
There were
ground.
ways that
And
Jews could
credit those
buy
guys
their way
for
out of it as well.
the first
Some
plane
communities
they
more
made.
lenient, you could bribe your way out.
Oh,
But
that's
just
true.
an example
Oh,
of
so is it like a plane?
humiliation.
Trying to dig
A
down
lot of
this
it had to
chain,
do with
get all pissy.
economics, because there's a strange loophole in Christian law
It's true.
law
No,
of
it's a good point.
gratia, which says
Yeah,
that
could be a
Christians
blip,
may
right?
not
When they first
lend
started
money
doing
to other
blips.
Christians and charge interest.
That's
So this
why that's the
basically
whole point of like Led
stops
Zeppelin.
all
They didn't want people
economic
getting on
activity
blimps, so they like
barter,
crash that
because who
shit.
wants to, give away their capital
Everyone thinks I'm
on a
crazy.
risky
You guys think
venture
I'm
if you're
nuts.
not
I'm
going
just
to get
telling
anything
you,
in
bro.
return?
Everything's
However,
a psyop.
Jews, because they are not
I want to
Christians,
hear more
are allowed
psyops.
to
Oh,
lend
I'd
money
rather go
to
that way than the
Christians,
other
and so
way.
the
That nothing's
Jews,
a psyop. I
ironically,
want to hear that everything's a psyop. Everything's a psyop. Dude, someone should do conspiracy news. It would be 10 times better than what you see on television. I was watching my girlfriend can't stop watching MSNBC. It doesn't matter how much they lie to her. She's like dug in and there's a deal, right? So I'm listening to Rachel Maddow the other day talking about like demonizing RFK Jr. about mRNA vaccines, right? You want a cigar? Smoke a cigar? No, I don't, dude.
Shoot, I try that joke every time. Nobody ever gets it, right? You're playing hose, I will cut it out. That's it. Okay.
Please continue.
And so there was there's this widespread thing that came out in the 19th century where people thought that, Jews were forced into money lending because they couldn't own land. In reality, in most parts of Europe, in most of our history, we could own land. But we didn't want to own land.
Telling everybody how
Owning
important
land
mRNA
meant
vaccines are. It's like she was
regulated.
only off by
And
100%.
if you got evicted from the country,
It was
you would
a
have no recourse.
trying
That was
time.
it for your land.
We
We were illiterate and numerate. We had the skills. You could convert your knowledge into cash and currency, which could be carried, which could be transported. And so it was actually a very appealing option for Jews as well. Lots of applications. But on a related observation, more next time, I'm running out of time.
What happened?
We'll
What
just
happened
put a
to
place
everyone's
mark
like
on.
injecting?
The risks, however, are significant.
In California, where they're all
Often
lost
loan
my
money
choice.
to the nobility, and then that debt goes back to large, then the nobility could simply say, you know what, it's not worth it for us to keep the Jews in place and keep maintaining this debt. It's easier simply to expel them, as they did, for example, in England in 1290. They simply said the debt is too large, let's get rid of the
reacted so strongly they thought
and
these
that
other
was the
people
end of
that
it.
weren't doing
So
the
it
right
has
thing were
those risks,
fucking
and
it up for
also
everybody.
significant
Because that's what
risks
they
that
believed at
Jews
the
are
time.
small-time
The problem
unlenders,
is
like they were,
most
for
of those people
example, in
never kind of
Ukraine.
owned up
You
to
could
what
have
they did.
massive peasant
Because
uprising,
they
in
were
which the
wrong.
local population
And
is just
if
so
what we
sick
did
of
get
the debt burden
hoodwinked,
that they say
and
it's
there's
easier
still
for us to
people that try to
massacre the
defend
Jews.
it and
Even
like
though
stop
credit
trying
is
to
something
defend
that
it.
everybody wants when they
The
need it,
data's out.
and they have
Didn't
to pay
stop
for it,
infection.
it's a different story.
Didn't stop.
We shall return to this as well. I would like to spend a couple of minutes talking about anti-Semitism, which developed very significantly in Christian Europe. This is not something we see
anything like this in the Muslim world. When I was studying in Oxford at one point, I was working with a scholar there, and we actually tried to count the number of anti-Semitic publications written, authored in Muslim lands during the Middle Ages, and it was hard for us to get past 20. But Christian works, oh my gosh, hundreds, is a tremendously different environment. This is a classic image that was used to illustrate the difference between Judaism and Christianity, the so-called ecclesia at synagoga. And this was especially useful if you were speaking to illiterate audiences. So this was a figure, female figure representing the church. You can see that she's got a crown on, she's standing upright, she has this staff which represents her power and authority, holding the chalice that is the Holy Grail, and she's generally a respectable figure. Her sister, so to speak, this is by the way outside of Cathedral in Strasbourg, she represents synagoga. Her crown is removed from her head, she's blindfolded to the truth. The staff in her arms is broken, indicating that her power is gone. She's holding the two tablets of the law, but loosely, like they're falling out of her hands. She's not even holding out the Judaism properly, and her whole physical posture is one of decline. And the message, if you're a peasant coming into Strasbourg and you want to learn something about your religion, then the priest or the deacon can point up to it and they point all of these things out, and you can get a pretty sophisticated, although negative view of Judaism. This image of the chief church and synagogue, there are literally thousands of examples in the medieval Christian Europe. I'll just show you two more. Here's another one that shows that it can actually get quite violent. Here is the church who is actually launching a lance into the synagogue. She's wearing the movement here, and that's a rather nice.
Right, yes.
And it's just incredible. Months later, they're very smart. And cemetery thought was swallowed. That was just everything more, but got very fast, all very serious, all that time parents.
But it sounds like you're holding up maybe a remote possibility that Jim maybe in fact did take his death and just disappeared.
Well, someone like not definitely think that's possible, but I want to be honest. Yeah, there's probably the time when there's no things like that. It takes a lot of documents to want to have money to do this kind of it is possible. It is possible, but I think what really happened, he's buried in Michelle. They tried to do this about possible. And money there. Now, Bill Simmons but all this happened right there, and Bill Simmons buried to find out what was going on.
This was the best training lecture.
Yeah, Bill Simmons was like 19 years old. Young. So he called three men there, doesn't respond to what's going on. Three men there attacked this stuff was on the body. Bill Simmons said, well, here's the death. There were parents there, doctor and all that. There was the possible. So right then, Derek's response was the basis that they might have carried in this possible. That's possible. This is something that I think people are going to be wondering about
Well, people do comment that have been to his...
Yo, what's going on? 2 MFT and Bova, how you living?
Who's this?
I'm Rabbi Rothschild. How are you?
Good.
Excellent. I'm just watching our friend and just checking out the dog pack. How's your day going?
Good. Good, thank you.
Excellent. Are you a streamer yourself?
I'm in the biggest room right now. I'm playing with him.
Oh, tight. Okay, that's you. Oh, wow. Okay, so he just died. And are you on his team?
I've been dead for a while.
Oh, okay.
You must be really far behind. Might want to maybe refresh it.
I may need to. I'm doing multiple things on my phone. Apologies. And then we have Bova. Bova, how are you? How's your day going?
I'm good, bro. Have you been drinking? I feel like
No, I haven't. I haven't had a drink in years.
I'm also impaired.
Oh, okay. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking
Oh, that's. Oh wow, phenomenal. Are you are you guys kick streamers yourself?
No.
Oh no. Okay, so
I'm not. Baba, do you stream?
do I stream? Oh, Baba.
No, Baba. Do you stream, Baba? Yeah, we should. Because I said so. Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm a mystery man.
All right.
A mystery man.
You could have a faceless
I'm
stream.
a mystery man too.
You're a mystery man as well, Tumoff? Okay, very well. So how long have you guys been in the dog pound?
75 years.
Wow, that's quite some time. Okay, so
I gotta go back.
okay, very well. Hey, tell Big Dogs I said hello, and it was a pleasure to meet you.
Okay, no problem. You too.
Take care. Bye. Boba, what kind of rum do you have? Oh, very nice. Excellent. So, you are generally just a lurker on Kick, is that correct?
I don't use Kick, bro. I'm on Twitch.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So you're watching him on Twitch. That's correct?
He's a fraud. He's a fraud. I like that guy. Please no. Please Twitch no. Wait, has he followed me? I don't think he's ever followed me on Kick. Does he? Does he sound like trouble? Like double trouble? Hey, Michael Jackson! He's actually real. What's happening, Michael Jackson?
He's the real Michael Jackson.
Does he go?
Yes, like that noise you were doing earlier.
Really? Michael, where'd you come from? Where'd you go? To the Cactan Dome?
American, I believe.
Really? Where did you come from? That's a Michael, I gotta turn the music off.
What was he? I didn't know Bob was actually in here.
Hello. Ladies first. A guy went up behind us as well.
Shout out to Big Dogs. He's nice. Shout out to the lady and the dude. They were tight as fuck. Dog.
No.
Yo.
Yo, I can hear you, bro. I'm probably the others. Oh, do you have got Guinness World Record?
How is everyone?
Follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts.
Don't show me this fucking thing.
A magazine article announced something incredible. 2 young girls had photographed real fairies. That article was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the man who invented Sherlock Holmes. How did he fall for that? Hoax is a new podcast from me, Dana Schwartz, the host of No One Blood, and me, Lizzie Logan. Every episode will explore one of the most audacious and ambitious tricks in history. Open your free iHeartRadio app, search Hoax, and listen now.
You love your kids enough to take them to see their favorite band. Love them enough to make sure they're buckled up in the back
NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The free iHeartRadio app is #1 for music, radio, and podcasts all in one. Discover a new podcast from our library of hundreds of thousands of titles. Here's an iHeartRadio podcast preview.
As journalism seemed to be about the internet, a tsunami that hit Birmingham, but it was not getting national attention. It was a circus.
Transmission, that alone would have stopped almost everybody from
Got a
taking.
nasty one. Here's one of my favorites from 14th century Germany. I don't know why I say my favorite.
They knew that.
That's good.
They knew that
This is a stained glass
the
window.
jump.
This is
They never did studies on whether or not it would stop infection. They just wanted to see the greater antibodies.
Ecclesia.
The whole thing is, when you listen to RFK Jr. talk about it, you're like, this can't be cool.
And a hand descends from heaven.
Yeah, and then you find out he is. You're like, this is nuts. This is nuts.
On the other hand,
Right, and then have you ever seen when they broke down how long it would actually take to make, like 5 billion vaccines that they wanted for everybody? It would take 10 years.
It was just a thing that it was
a bloody sword descends from heaven
in front of everybody, and everybody agreed to it. And then once they realized they agreed to it, they realized they don't want to admit
another religion than
They want to
something
be
like
right,
this.
not do
And that's
right.
the kind
Yeah.
of anti-Semitism that is building up
how
in
many like
Christian
really
Europe.
nutty,
It
like
gets to its
Marxist,
worst with
left-wing,
the so-called blood libel,
lunatic
which begins
like
in the 13th
conferences do I
century.
see
The notion
online
that
where they're
Jews
all
somehow
masked?
Dude, I'm
need
fine
to
when people are
consume
masked.
Christian blood
They're
for
still in
whatever
mask.
reason. Arguments that
They're still in
Jewish
mask.
men
Everyone else doesn't have a
menstruated
mask
to
where I'm
replace their
living.
iron.
They're wearing like
The idea that Jews
super
had a
heavy
stench
masks.
called the Fortune Judaeus. The only way to get rid of it was to bathe in Christian blood. And of
That's
course,
what
the
it is.
association
Yeah, it
with
is. It's
mass
just let everybody know exactly what you vote for.
This
You
is
have a
a
mask, you wearing it
a
everywhere.
rendition
I
of
love that. So
Simon
you know who
Trent
the
in
retards are.
But there's
1479, a
like
child who
groups
was
online where they
unfortunately
talk about
murdered
the
in mysterious
importance of
circumstances,
masking, and
probably
they
by
beat up and
a
about how
maniacal pedophile.
irresponsible
And once
these
his body was
non-maskers
discovered,
are, and
the Jews
COVID
were
hasn't
blamed
gone
for it.
away, and I
He
have
was actually
respiratory
sainted. He was a
this
saint.
and infectious that and immune suppressant this.
Obviously, I need to see it for the internet. This
Fuck,
is totally
man,
ridiculous. Jews do
What
not do
happened?
this.
It's not good.
We don't
But
even
it was just
put
one
sugar in our
cold that was a
I
little harder
would
than
like to
most
spend more time
flus.
talking about this, but I know I'm rushing out
Everybody
of time,
got duped.
and we have to get to the Spanish
Yeah.
Inquisition.
And then
But
you
a
go, what
similar thing
about
was
the 5G they're cranking up? What
desecration of
about
the host,
what they're
which
spraying in
is
the
a charge
skies that
that
now
Jews
is an
would
acceptable
take.
fact that
If
they're
they
doing
couldn't get a Christian
geoengineering of
child,
our
they
skies. So
would
like
take
5
the
years ago, you
wafer
were
that is a
crazy
part of the
conspiracy
Christian
theorist.
rite of
Now
communion,
there's laws
aspect
being
of the
passed
communion,
about it.
and then they would torture
You put all that together,
the
you're
host
like,
itself, the crackers itself.
that's how people
And
get
this is
sick. It's
referring
weird,
to
like
a
even
host desecration Sergeant Pascal,
You know,
in
which
which
is
many
legal.
Jews lost
Like you
their
can
lives
see
as a result
clouds
of
and
the
you can make
mass
it rain,
hysteria.
but like
Okay, now we have to get to the Spanish Inquisition. I
how
hope you
you know
will
what I
forgive me
mean?
if I
Like
go
what
maybe
happens
4
if you
minutes
cause
over
floods
time.
like they did in
I
Dubai?
spent
Did
too
you
much
see
time
that?
talking about that.
camels just
So
flying
you have in the Middle Ages a tremendous number
Lamborghinis
of
drowning.
expulsions.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the greatest of them.
Tell me something, nothing about 200 miles an hour.
Too. Really, there are tens, maybe hundreds of smaller expulsions from local cities, principalities, dukedoms, fiefdoms, and kingdoms.
Confederate Army might
There's
be
a joke that's no
for a
longer
second
true,
just
but
to
you
see
say,
like
why is it there are no good Jewish piano players? And the answer was, because it's hard to run when you're carrying a piano. Clarinet is much easier, but that's no longer true. But you can see that there's a general push from Western Europe towards Eastern Europe, and especially in the 16th century, you've got lots of Jews beginning to populate the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth. About 75% of Ashkenazi Jews in America descend from those Jews who made their way from Ashkenazi.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Ashkenazis, by the way,
Was either him or the 2 episodes later they talked about how
most
much
likely
Georgia
Rhineland into Eastern Europe. The Spanish Inquisition was one of these bizarre, purge-like, terrifying nightmares of society that took over a century to resolve itself in the Iberian Peninsula and had ramifications for the next century as well. What basically happened, this is, by the way, what torture associated with the Spanish Inquisition, which was initiated in 1478 and was not closed until the 19th century. The prisoner was being inquired of would put his hands in his press, and he would stare at the cross to contemplate his sins while he was tortured, and
There's a
would
certain
be
like so is that supposedly a thing where a person can get
while
in?
under such tremendous duress. Basically what happened is, in the late 14th century,
Okay, so
there
what
was a
that
wave
looks
of
like is like
forced baptism
sales.
in Spain, and And as you recall, as earlier under St. Augustine, this is prohibited behavior.
That's like sales, like a
in
sailboat.
Catholic doctrine, once a person is baptized,
So you just
they
jump off
become
the cliff
Jewish.
with that? How do
They
you get that
become
bitch off the
Christian.
ground?
There's no way back. There's no way out of the process if you have been baptized. So all of a sudden, you have all these Jews in major Spanish cities who were no longer considered Jewish, which meant on the one hand they were kind of like states of peoples because
That's
they were,
crazy.
the Jewish community wasn't
901,
entirely
that's
sure
the
what to do with
episode,
them
and there's
either.
a picture of the crap
Here's
that they
the
made.
trick.
So
They
they're
ended
just
up
refueling
having
these
tremendous
balloons with
social
gas.
mobility
These aren't even
because
balloons.
if they were
It's
actually
like
Catholics,
literal,
there was no
like
more
aircraft
anti-Semitic
that are going
legislation that could
200
hold them
miles
back.
an hour.
They could go to
What do they look like? So when the reason I bring it up is because if we go, they got these silver cigar things.
Hide in the
Like,
church.
think about how long
All of
ago
a
that
sudden,
was.
you have this
Like,
very talented, urban, literate, numerous, experienced community able to find all kinds of economic activities that they never had before. They were called crypto Jews, which means hidden Jews. They were called by the detractors Marranos, which means basically swine in both cases. But they were all of a sudden Christians in legal aspects, but they still remain Jews internally.
It's guys with
The Inquisition was all of a sudden brought in because really do know these people.
I do now.
They're still hanging out with the Jewish
want to know what the
community. They're
image
still
is.
going to eat social
How-
meat.
what
They're
power-
still,
yeah, these are them.
going and
These are
marrying
the
other
crafts that they
Marranos
had.
and so on.
They were working
Trying to
on
stop
person
these
gets
people who are
inside
literally
their phone.
running the
Look at
major
that. And then
cultural,
there's a
social, and
propeller back
economic
there.
institutions
Who
of
was
Spain.
working on this?
So
The
the
South.
Inquisition was brought in to
No,
try
the North.
and enforce
The North
that
and
all
Germany.
these people and their children and their grandchildren who were baptized would remain Christians and
Oh,
would
the South
not
had a different
backslide
kind of
into
thing.
Judaism.
So,
So
but
to
this
be
thing is
clear,
different.
the Inquisition was not, strictly speaking, directed against Jews.
I don't know.
Jews living in Spain, this by the way, is Christian Spain, but I should make obvious. The Muslims were driven out in 1482, the last
They had that
Muslim
way
kingdom
back in
was
the
just
1850s.
removed. Jews per se were
Those
left
guys,
alone.
I think that thing went 200 miles an
They
hour. I
were
think somebody
heretics,
lied.
but they had their heretical
But they had
their
that
right to live within
200
that community.
miles an
This was
hour.
directed
Step
at
right up.
those
Just
Jews
think
and
what kind
their
of dominance
descendants
you could
who
have
lived
at that time with
and
that
had the
kind of
rights of
crap.
Christians,
Moving
but
that
were still
quickly.
practicing Jewish
Back
activity.
then they used to thought if
And
you went
in
that
order to
fast, you were
capture
going to
them,
explode.
they would,
Yeah, they used to think that.
subject them to torture. They would, under torture, they would arrest. They would say, "Oh, these are 700 people I know doing the same thing," and they would arrest those 7 people.
When they needed
And
money,
those 7 people screwed up 7 more people, and they ended up spinning way out of control. Just to give you one sense of what that looked like. Torture. This is some kind of device. The Spanish Inquisition was notorious for these kinds of things. This is a device called the Pope's Fair, and they would take a suspected Judaizer, or crypto Jew, they would insert this device in the orifice of their choice, and then they would ask him to give up the names
You know, do you think that
their fellow
most of the UFO sightings that
and if
people
they
say
didn't give a
are
satisfactory
U.S.
answer,
government
then
crafts?
they would simply turn that little ring and it
It's
would
back engineered
increase it.
stuff,
Just imagine
or do
seeing
you think we
device in the torture. There's so many pictures of people not showing. So what ended up happening was, they had to stick with us for time. There's so much to say about it. It was a failure. They simply could not keep up with the number of Judaizers. And the logic of it began to break down such that Porfirmano, the chief inquisitor, simply said, "You know what, I think I've got the answer. The reason why we can't control this is because the false Christians, so to speak, are still associated with the Jewish community. What we have to do is we have to get rid of all the Jews. If we get rid of all the Jews, then they will massively assimilate. And this is ultimately what drove the campaign to adopt the right of expulsion in 1492. There were also economic reasons. We run out of time to tell you the difference between scholars of English are religious in nature, other scholars are primarily economic in nature. But what you had in 1492 was absolutely tragic, massive exile of this huge population. If you just imagine what it must have been like
Well, you know, John
for
Smith's
these
a real
Jews. It would be something like driving all the
Apparently
Jews
goes
out of
fast
the
because
5
they use something
boroughs
an
of
anti-gravity fuel called
and the
NBS.
What?
impossible to imagine,
What?
and yet that's what it was. Creating a ripple in Jewish society that lasted for hundreds of years.
I mean, in Civil
And
War,
we
Yes,
will
so
continue
apparently
that
was
by
something
building
this
next
guy
week.
Delashu,
Let me just conclude by
the guy
saying,
who was credited with the drawings, he was in something called the
look at
Sonora
the theory.
Aero Club.
and I managed to
Also,
stay at
they
Masonry within
found all
60
this
minutes.
in a junk pile. He moved
My
somewhere
takeaway
in
message was
Texas
that the
in
Jewish
1850.
people
They
were
found it in the
phenomenally
60s.
Yeah, and they were working with German scientists.
able to absorb phenomenal
NB
abuse
gas for
and
lift and
still
propulsion.
continue their
So it's like some
gregarious
sort of,
life
I guess,
affirming
secret
ways.
arrow
What
club
I'd like
where a
to
bunch
say
of guys
about
that were
today
into
is when we look at the medieval period, we have to see the Jewish
But
people
what does that mean in
are
anti-gravity
resourceful.
fuel? I'd like to have someone
There are
read
people
that knows
that
what
are
the fuck
able
those
to
words
look
mean.
at
Not even sure it's
devastation
real. It doesn't sound like a fuel deterrent because
those
we are
elements
based
that
on
can be
timelines.
used
And this
to
notion that
recreate
we came
life
from
even from the ashes.
cavemen, you know, that
Thank
I
you
don't.
very much for your attention.
I think there's been multiple societies, you know, civilizations that just keep getting reset and reset and reset. I think that's true. Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of really compelling evidence that shows that. Have you seen Jesse Michael's new video? No. He's got a video on those tridactyl mummies in Peru, where he went down there and had them CAT scanned and had them. Dude, tridactyl. Like you're talking like, what is it? Let's go to the book. Go to that graph. This thinking ammonia gas. Is it saying it's bullshit? I mean, it's like, how is it going to defy gravity unless you're talking about like just lift like a helium balloon? If that's kind of anti-gravity gas. But that's not what I think of when I think of anti-gravity. I think of like space tech that allows you to like shoot giant distances instantaneously, like you hear about from these crafts. But if let's just say this is real, and I do believe it's real, 100%. Like, what do they have now? I mean, it's so far down the line. I mean, that's so long ago. It's like, what, 175 years ago, that technology that they could have. That's interesting about these clubs. I don't know how many flight enthusiasts in the mid-1800s there would have been. You know, people would have been interested in flying. I guess we appreciate it very much. The Nazi Bell, which is a big part of World War II that nobody ever talks about.
Right,
that was like a flying craft that they were trying to develop, right?
In Jewish history.
So the Nazis were apparently trying to
I've
come up
received
with
a lot
bunch
of
different
interesting
shapes
feedback
for
for the first
crafts.
two lectures.
One was a bell,
Most of
right?
it was pretty
One was
positive.
kind of flying
I
saucer-like,
think my
right? You know?
favorite criticism
I
was,
mean, that's a whole
couldn't you
part
just spend a
of
little
it.
bit
Have you
more
ever heard of
time
Mark
talking
Ballman?
about this or
I
talking
always
about this
wonder.
different subject?
That's pretty
But
dope.
the whole point of a
I
crash
always
course
wonder
is to try and
when
compress
they
a massive
talk
amount
about
of
stuff like
information
that, like the Nazis
into
trying to make
this
a flying
short
saucer.
condensed
Was
period
that
of
because
time.
they were trying to
But it does
emulate
remind
something
me
that
of a
they had
joke
seen, or that
where
there was some sort
two
of a
guys were
hidden
standing
historical
outside the
record of?
deli in
You know what? Because
Lower
it's
East
only
Side,
the
and one
people
says
that
the
are
other,
at the head of the military
this
today,
restaurant serves the
or
worst
the head of
food.
these military
And the other guy says,
contractors,
yeah,
really
and
know whether
really
or not
small
there's
portions
packaged
too.
UFOs. If there
So
are, they
we're
have
still
them.
going to keep
And
with
if they
that
don't know about them, they probably
rather
don't exist.
audacious
Whatever
and
companies
ambitious
have them,
goal
right?
of completing all of Jewish history
know,
from time
You gotta
immemorial
wonder,
to
what were
the
the
present
Nazis
day
doing?
within
Were they
4
trying
short
to
lectures.
emulate something that
Tonight
they
we're
knew
going to be
existed?
concentrating on the
When
modern period.
did
And you'll
governments,
recall
if there
some
really
of
is a
these,
real phenomenon, if this isn't
periodizations,
just
these
total
scenes that we're going to
gaslighting
draw in history are somewhat
propaganda and
arbitrary.
bullshit to get you to
But I'd
believe
like
that
to
aliens are out there because they've got like
show the
crazy
modern
high
period,
tech
the
that's
era
50,
from
60, 70
the
years
Spanish
past where
expulsion,
we
as we
really
shall
think
see that huge
both of those things are hard to believe,
upheaval
right?
had a
It's hard to believe
phenomenal
that the government
impact on
would be
the
able to
entire
hide
Jewish population of the
the
world
kind
at the
of
time, and we'll take it up
whatever
to
kind of
the
program that would
end of
develop
the
a
19th
genuine
century with the
anti-gravity
pogroms of 1881,
engine
which
that
also
can move
sparked
through
a
space and
massive
time, that can
great
go through the
migration,
ocean,
and
it makes the
also had
device
phenomenal impact
transmedium,
on
creates
the
like a
contemporary
portal
period, which
around
will be
it,
the last
where it
lecture,
exists
God willing, next
completely
week.
independently of
We'll look
everything that
essentially at
we're
the 20th
experiencing
century
in 3D space. It
and the very
just goes through stuff.
complex and difficult
The idea that they have that
So
and kept
let
it
us
secret
not
seems
take
kind
too
of
much
crazy.
time to the material. Here's the
I'm
map
not
that
saying
we
it's
ended
impossible.
with last week. It
What I'm
shows
saying
you
by that is like you hear famous stories of people whose fathers worked at Area 51 and he never once told them what they did.
Century.
Oh yeah,
Tremendous
people keep their mouth
upheaval.
shut.
We're talking
People,
about
they
the
also know
largest,
that they have to keep
most
their mouth
settled,
shut
most
because if you
concentrated,
don't,
most
you get in real trouble.
prestigious Jewish
You know, if you
community
have
in
top
the
secret
world
clearance and you go
suddenly being
blabbing,
uprooted
they're
and
listening to
spread
everything you
throughout
say.
the
They're
entire
checking your
Mediterranean
emails.
basin,
They know.
and also to
100%.
points north in Europe
100%.
and even to
I
the
think
New
people
World.
keep
This was
secrets.
an
I really
upheaval
do.
that
And
is
they're
very
going to be looking
difficult
over
for us
here
to
when it's really
imagine.
over here.
I'll
They
show
do
you
that all the time.
what
Like Area
parallels
51 is
shortly.
kind of like the
And there are
shiny
some
object that everyone's,
tremendously
oh, that's great.
heartbreaking stories
And
that
it's
are
really the
associated
mountain
with this
that's like
explosion.
10 miles away
I
that
do
they've
not have
hollowed
time
out.
to go into
That's
them in great detail.
But
Where
so
Lazar
just
worked.
try to
Or
imagine
you get
what it
into
must have been
NASA,
like.
right? Everyone
If you
thinks
think of
it's
the entire
in
population of the 5 boroughs of New
in
York,
Houston.
all
The
the
real
Jews
NASA
living
is in
there,
Huntsville,
suddenly
Alabama.
being forced
So
to leave
this
within
is a funny story. So Eddie and I are doing stand-up, and we're doing the Temple High Comedy
I
Night.
know a lot would go to
And
Lakewood,
we
let's say,
do
but Lakewood also
Nashville,
would
we
fill
pack
up.
it
And after
out.
Lakewood, where do you go?
Zanies, I think it
Incredibly
is. We
difficult.
pack it out, we're great.
And
So they sent us to Huntsville.
let's look at some
And
of
we
the
go,
major
you know,
changes that happened
like,
at
yeah,
the
man, we're going to stand
There's
in
a huge
Alabama. It's
amount
going to be
of
great. Let's
social,
go. So we
intellectual,
drive
and
up,
cultural
we
change
get
that
to the hotel, we go
as a result
we
of
go
this
to the
One
comedy
of the things
club,
that I find
and
most
the
fascinating,
fucking
and we'll be
parking
able
lot
to
is
draw
packed. And we're like,
lines
oh,
of
we packed this
continuity through the next
motherfucker.
centuries,
It's going to be
is
great.
that there
Well,
is
it's like
a
Sharon
dramatic
Underwood or
shift in
one of
terms
those
of
black female
gender
comics is
power
performing there,
during
and it's
the
called her crowd. No,
post-expulsion
it's not
period.
her. Someone who has
Since
the
so many
daytime
of
talk
the
show. I forget what her name is. No
authorities,
disrespect.
which
She's
were
hilarious.
overwhelmingly
She
and
packed
continue
it
to be
out. And it's her
predominantly
crowd.
male,
So she
since
runs.
many of
The
those
show
have
goes like,
been
surprise.
uprooted
And
from
all of a
their
sudden,
sources in the
her
Iberian
crowd
Peninsula, there was suddenly a lot more
and our crowd
possibility
comes
for
in,
women
and it's
to take
45
positions
people.
of
And
authority.
I'm like,
And
oh,
we see
fuck.
two
And I
of the
just
most
keep looking up
dramatic
there and going,
examples
oh,
of it
fuck.
with the
Fuck.
next
Fuck.
generation
And
of
he's like, and he's
survivors
going,
of
I
the
know we're in
people.
trouble because
Specifically,
Sam's always
on the
positive
left,
about
you see
it,
a
and he just can't
representation
stop
of
yelling
Tanya
fuck.
Gracia
So we do a show, 45 people. It's a great show. We have a
a
good time.
so-called
We
Portuguese
get off
Jew. What
stage.
this term
The sound
Portuguese
guy comes up to
refers
me.
to
He
incidentally,
goes,
I'm sure you've
whoever
heard of
sent you
the
here
Spanish
sent
and
you up to
Portuguese
fail.
synagogue, which is a very
Because
common
this is
definition.
the real NASA.
There was
This
a
is
Jewish
where all
population in
of the
Portugal
satellites are
before
controlled from.
1492.
This is where
Not an
Von
especially
Braun went
large one.
when he came to
But
America.
what happened
And
is,
in Huntsville,
just go
Alabama,
back to the
into the
map for a
late
second, you
80s,
see that
you were not allowed
the
to
most
talk about how
natural route
he was a
for
Nazi because he had all convinced himself that he was forced to do it against his own will, and even though he was a horrible, horrible person, if you hear stories about real Nazis. Yeah, but they convinced themselves that he did it against his own will. So that's where the real, so they always have you look over here when everything's going on over here.
Jews who fled Spanish conversions, such as, for example, the famous Abarbanel's grandfather, who was forcibly converted and fled to Portugal. There he resumed his Jewish
There's a
identity.
video
So
out there.
Portugal
It's
was
called
a
American
natural
Nazi 60
route of
Minutes.
escape.
Can
This
you
is
look
one
it
of
up?
those famous
It's
times
basically
where
when
Jews
60
were
Minutes did
literally
really good work.
undocumented
And
migrants
they
were
interviewed this
held up at the
Boston
border. There are a lot of parallels to
who was like trying to get
contemporary
down to
situation.
what was going on.
And
Why are all these
when they
Nazis here?
arrived
Why
in
isn't anyone
Portugal,
getting them?
there were certain
And so he's
allowances
pressing
made
these
for
two
them,
like Freedom of
but ultimately
Information
they were
Act,
forcibly
and
converted
he's pressing
5
and
years
pressing them,
later,
and one day they gotta
1497.
agree to it.
The
So the
imposition
CIA
was
says,
then
you
brought
can look at
into
these documents, you
the
can't take pictures, and you
Portuguese
can't take
country as
notes.
well,
You can
and
just
many
read.
Jews, like
So
in
he
Spain,
reads it,
just went
and he
underground as
finds out
so-called
that basically
Moranos,
what happened
hiding
was
their Jewish identity for
Rockefeller,
generations in order
Nixon,
to escape
and I
the
think
wrath
it
of the
was
Inquisition. And
Eisenhower
only later,
form a
in the
committee,
case
and
of
they're all the
Gracia,
ones that
we
bring them
finally were
over.
able to leave Portugal, and
So
the Impressionist
yeah,
party
so
to
yeah, this
imagine
Operation
the Inquisition
This is
actually
part of it,
kept
but this,
tabs
I
on
never
people
knew that.
who went, for example, to
Like if
England.
you're going in hiding, dude, why wouldn't you change your name? None of them change their names.
Inquisition transcript
Yeah,
trials. Transcripts
right?
of
None of them
Inquisition
changed. Yeah, that was
trials
his
of people
agency. So
Jews
G2,
who
US
went to
agency,
England
cover
and
up Nazi
there
spy
experimented with
program.
Judaism, and when
60
they returned to
Minutes.
Portugal, they were
Eisenhower,
arrested,
yep.
and they were
Things
asked
that
as to
Rockefeller
what
and
exactly
Eisenhower,
they
imagine
did.
60 Minutes doing that today.
Quite paranoid about
Would never
hunting
happen.
them down.
Nope.
But
We talked
Tanya
to
Gracia was
hey
one of these
guys,
women
yeah,
who,
let's
when she got out of the clutches of the Inquisition, she said, I'm actually Jewish, not
I
Christian
agree,
at
dude.
all.
American
And
heroes, they got
these
something about
Jews
the
who were
fuck up.
forcibly
Nobody ever
converted
talked
for
about
their
Martin
grandchildren or
Bormann,
great-grandchildren
who was like,
were
if you
called
don't know
Portuguese
Martin
Jews.
Bormann, you
By
don't know nothing about
contrast, you
World
have
War II.
Benvenida Abrabano,
Peacefully in
who was
Argentina,
niece of
said
the famous
Carter tried to get him out of there. Let's scroll
who
back up. It says,
fled in 1492
John
and
Loftus,
was
a
never
former prosecutor with the Justice
converted to
Official
Christianity, and so
Office
therefore she
of
was called
Special
a
Investigations
Spanish Jew.
that was set
Now,
up in
the two of
1980
them
by
were
President
actually two of the
Carter
most
to
powerful
root
women
out
in
Nazi
the world.
collaborators, made the allegations in
And
an
at one
interview with
point, they
CBS programs on that.
an
Yeah,
international
Nazi collaborators were given
placed
jobs in the
against
United
the
States
church
and some were later
because
sent
of
to the
their
Soviet
treatment
Union and
of
parachute
Jews.
teams
It's an
in an
incredible
unsuccessful
story.
attempt to perform assassinations and start civil wars.
One small detail we point out, neither of these pictures are
flying
accurate.
Nazis
The,
into
one on the left
Russia
is
to
actually
start
one
civil
of Gracia
wars.
Mendez's
Like this guy
niece,
on, I think I talked to
the
him
guy
last
who
time, dark journalist,
and on
he
the
does
right
really
is
great work.
Jewish
He's
woman,
talking a big reason why
Leonora
JFK was assassinated.
who was actually
NASA was
Benjamin
involved
Netanyahu's
because
student.
JFK wanted to give Russia all these documents and information they had
It's not that
about these
unusual
UFOs because he didn't want them to think that they were
students to choose to portray themselves as their teacher. Like, for example, many of my students like to use this picture to represent me.
And they still hated the Russians. They
I
didn't want
myself
that.
up here, something like that. Okay.
There's a lot of reasons. Yeah, there's
Moving on,
multiple
let's just, so one of the things that changed as a result of the Spanish Inquisition was that suddenly there's a power vacuum. The traditional power elites are disjointed, are dislocated, and many other people begin to take up the position. Similarly, there is a lot of
after World War II for intelligence purposes.
Traditional religious authority. Because after all, although there were many heroic figures like Havana, who had actually more than us now, there were many religious figures who simply capitulated. Abraham Senor, who was in his 80s, was the senior financial advisor to Queen Isabella, decided that he would rather stay in Spain and with his entire family decided to remain in
Video, they
Spain
interview
and simply
Nazis
give up.
who
These
still
were
defended
rabbis,
everything
so
they
there was a
did. It was
tremendous
none of them changed their names. They all just
appreciation
defended
for
what they
rabbinic
did.
leadership at
And
this
it was
time as
crazy.
well.
It's a
That
crazy
eroded
video to
traditional
watch.
authorities. And as a result, there were new secular ideas
Imagine
that were
one of our
circulating with
wrong
much greater
used to
frequency
hang
and
the
authority.
5 slowest
Perhaps the most
Jews
tragic
in front of the
of the
rocket
figures
factory.
associated with
To
this
motivate
is
workers. They hang
Uriel
them. Yeah,
Acosta,
where
who is pictured here in this fanciful image with the dark,
convinced himself he didn't want to do
you
it.
know, the skull cap man with kind of a serious gaze, and on his knee is Paulo Capanoza, also a product of the Inquisition, but quite a bit later. They never actually met, but this is kind of like a metaphorical Spinoza is on the knee of Acosta. Acosta's story is very tragic.
We never comment on intelligence matters, and we're not commenting on something that happened in the 1950s.
He was raised as a Christian by his mother, hid their Jewish identity.
Right.
By the way, women also played
we're still trying to find out what the fuck happened to JFK.
Perpetuating Judaism under these
63.
incredibly difficult circumstances. We have
I think
a
there's
lot
one person still alive, and that's why they don't want to tell you about
documentation
it.
of women,
Really?
particularly were taken before the Inquisition, who described the
I
many
don't know
vehicles
exactly
by
her
which
role in
they
it, but she's
maintained
supposedly is a
their
part of it. She
identity
was
and
like
their
kind of
memory of
something. So
Judaism,
when she dies,
including, for
they'll release
example,
the hound, they'll release more of it.
self-scarification, where if they had a male
That's why they're slow
child
rolling
and they
this
were
out,
unable,
because they don't want
obviously, to
anyone who's still
circumcise that
alive.
child, they would
Fix
cut
any
a small amount of
My
flesh out
question
of
was always though, what could possibly be in
arm
there?
to remind
It's
them
not like we shot
that
him.
if they were
This is
ever
where
able
we
to,
stood.
they should one day
You know, Bobby took the
circumcise
fast
their
one with the
child.
Jeffrey Epstein list. It's like, what do you think they're going to do? What their name and what they order?
Acosta's
And,
mother
you know, they're never going to have that. The list is one thing. What she was saying about videos.
They couldn't say this to
That's
children
crazy.
because
Well, that's the
they
whole
would
point of the
playground and say,
believe
"Oh, my
behind the
wife
P.
is
Diddy
old."
trial.
We
Was that
actually like to
it was really about
put
getting his tapes.
and that could be
And why would they
the
release the
Inquisition.
names
So
when they
Acosta
can have the
was
names and
Jewish, he was
blackmail
a
everybody
teenager,
on the list and in the video?
couldn't wait. He was so
Why would
excited.
they give that away?
They
Why would the
managed to gain
intelligence agencies
passage
do that?
to
When they can control
Amsterdam,
these
which was, unlike today, a very liberal city, a very relaxed life, as a joke. So somebody would get it out of your shit, right? But okay. And there, when he got to Amsterdam, he said,
I like to
okay,
watch
I'm
politicians
Jewish,
who are pushing all this fucking bullshit, whether it's COVID or BLM or Nazi or Zionism and all this shit. And I go, what weird shit did they got you fucking
because when
on
he
video?
went to shul,
What
he would say
weird
to people, excuse
shit.
me,
When Pam Bondi, who was a part of the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing
and wait a
in
second, this
Florida,
is Shabbos. How could you be
and
talking
now
about
she's like,
business?
yeah, there's
And
videos.
was
There's
very
no video.
upset
Part of it in
with
Florida.
the fact that
So when the first time he gets arrested, she was part of that whole thing. She was part of the process. She was like some AG or something in Florida.
Because he was a
Was
bit
she
of a
on
rabble rouser and a
yeah.
highly intellectual individual. He actually published books. He was excluded 3 times from the community.
There's so many people.
He came back every time begging forgiveness. He could not live on his own until finally,
and watching
the
these
third
powerful people sort of huddle up
excommunication
together
the
and hold the
Jewish
line.
synagogue, again, fearing the
And you got all
possible
these
repercussions
pedo
of
hunters,
having
and they're
these
doing
kinds
great
of,
jobs getting these guys off the
atheistic or
streets, but they're all low level.
challenging
It makes you
us.
feel like, oh, we're doing something. No, you're just getting low-level guys out.
Before you
You're
can
not
be
getting,
readmitted
you
to
know,
the
with the Me
community,
Too
you're
movement,
going to
and
go
then they were
through
accusing
a
people of all this, and they're trying to make it seem like these guys are a part of it. No, dude. You know, if you're a 17-year-old going to a comedy concert, and then you go home to your parents still, you're not part of that. You know, it's like 80% of children who go missing are from foster care. Like, people don't understand that. It's like involves dark-ass shit.
Every member of the community was brought over his own body and
to the
there was a
synagogue.
story
Deeply
that was in
humiliated,
some sort of
he
a
went through
television
the
show
process, he
about
went home,
a
he
scandal
wrote
that
an 11-page
involved
suicide
child
note.
sex trafficking with
And
politicians.
we have that suicide note called
It was like in the 90s or something like that. There was weird stuff
chilling,
in
terrifying
Different
document
Strokes.
that
They
is a
constantly had
testament as well
episodes
to
on
the
that stuff.
the
TV
upheaval
show
of the
Different
position
Strokes.
and what it
Where
means
like
for trying
the guy
to
owned a bike store
re-enter
was
the
giving
Jewish
kids
community after
wine.
being so far away
What?
from it.
Yeah.
But
It was, I
this
just
kind
saw
of
that pop
secular
up on
thinking
one of my
that
feeds. Algorithm. So like,
Acosta
wasn't
brought to the
there was
table
some sort of a
definitely
story
like
that I
Spinoza
kind of
later
can't
and
remember
had centuries of
TV
impact.
program it
This
was. Was
is
it the Franklin scandal or the Finder
75
scandal?
years
After the FBI conspiracy of
the
silence.
after the expulsion.
The Camp
And we
Investigates
are,
Nation One Child Abuse Network reaching government officials exposes systematic exploitation by powerful which involves Ronald Reagan and George involves Ronald Reagan and involves George Bush Sr. Imagine if you are a government official and you're also a pedophile and you have to like sniff around to find out if anybody else is a pedophile.
There was a small group